Chapter 1024. The Bald Old Man explained, unlike a solo dance, a group dance has its own atmosphere and influence, so you need to prepare yourself mentally and physically. When that moment comes, I will activate the power of the second stage of the dance. This power will guide you in learning this dance. That way, even if it's your first time performing this dance, the chances of any issues happening will not be too high. Regardless of what happens, you must carefully dance. The tempo and movements cannot be wrong. Got it? Gu Qing nodded. Although the old man's expression was very serious, his flowery t-shirt, beach pants, and pink flip-flops made it impossible for Gu Qing to feel nervous at all. Gu Qing could only silently remember his words. All right, I'll be leaving first. I also need to store up a bit of energy, the old man said. You also need energy? Gu Qing asked. Of course, when that moment comes, I'll be your accompaniment. After saying so, the bald old man nodded to Gu Qing. His figure turned into a sprite of light and went back into Gu Qing forehead. The strongest combatant of the bygone era, humans disappeared from Gu Qing sight. Gu Qing wiped the sweat off his forehead and fell into thought. And an accompaniment? This isn't a concert. What are they going to do? He didn't notice that the cabin door had already been opened. Lin was watching the scene with a complicated expression. Gu Qing shook his head and went to take a shower. After changing into a set of clean clothes, he returned to the deck. I need to eat more to store up some stamina. With that in mind, Gu Qing tapped his inventory bag, took out pots and pans, and began to cook. His hands and feet quickly busied themselves. A few moments later, a sumptuous feast of spirit cooking was ready. Lola and Lin had already been summoned here by the rich aroma of spirit cooking, so they silently took out the utensils and helped arrange the plates. Gu Qing took out a bottle of liquor for Lin. When he returned from the world fragment, he saw Lin drink the entire bottle of liquor he left behind. Have a drink, he said. Sigh, I just had a meal not long ago, and now I'm having a second meal. If I continue like this, I'll get fat. Lin sighed, received the glass, poured herself a full glass, and took a sip. Gu Qing also chose a bottle of mixed juice for Lola and handed it to her. Here, your juice, he said. Lola took the juice from Gu Qing's hand, took a sip, and said to Lin, Yes, it's easy to lose your figure if you stay with a chef like Gu Qing. I'm going to start losing weight soon. If I'm too fat, I'll feel uncomfortable looking in a mirror. The two girls put down their drinks, picked up their bowls and chopsticks, and began to taste the delicious food. This dish is delicious. Sister, you should try it. It's not bad. Lola, eat that fish. I think it's to your liking. That's right. This fish is very fresh and tender. It's done very well. The two of them chatted as they ate, their chopsticks dancing in the air, making anyone who saw them feel dizzy. Gu Qing couldn't help but feel a bit confused as she watched the two girls gorging themselves. Why do women's actions and words always seem to be different? Gu Qing, why aren't you eating? Lola asked in confusion. Yes, I forgot myself. Gu Qing stopped thinking about it. I need to prepare for the second stage of the living being sacrificial dance, so I need to eat a bit more. He picked up his bowl and began to eat. After the meal, Lin and Lola cleaned up the table before sitting down again. The Bramble Bird ship was still flying along a certain trajectory within the endless space vortex. The three of them drank tea, occasionally chatted, and occasionally stopped to observe the strange things flying past the space vortex outside the ship. Lola praised, Gu Qing, I know you're a good cook, but I didn't think you'd be so good at dancing as well. Recalling the dance just now, Gu Qing felt a bit of lingering fear. He seriously told her, Lola, from now on, when I dance, it's best if you don't suddenly appear again. What is it? Lola asked. This dance is actually very dangerous. It can sometimes kill people, Gu Qing explained. What? Kill people? Lola was shocked. That's right, this is an occultism dance, completely unpredictable. Do you know about occultism? Gu Qing asked. Occultism? How rare. I remember that my treasure vault was filled with countless treasures, but only one of them was occultism, which seems to be the rarest mystic-type dance, Lola replied. That's right. So you have to be careful Gu Qingshan reminded her. But this dance also gave me a spell, and its rhythm was so strong that I wanted to dance along with it, Lola said. Gu Qingshan opened her mouth to say something, but then stopped. Wait a minute. The second stage of the living being sacrificial dance was a group dance. Unlike others, Lola was able to obtain abilities from this dance. Perhaps she's suitable to dance this dance with me? With that in mind, Gu Qingshan was a bit hesitant. Regardless, I told you to be careful from now on. Don't laugh at this dance in front of it. This is very important, Gu Qingshan finally said. Got it. Laura responded with a smile, lowered her head, opened her small satchel, and rummaged through it. Occultism items. Even this Empress only has one. Where exactly did I put it? After searching for a while, she finally stopped. Found it. Lola took something out of the box. Gu Qingshan and Lin both looked at it, only to see that it was a stump wooden arm, painted in a dark red color, with a single closed eye on the back of the arm. This thing makes me feel uncomfortable, a bit creepy, Lin scowled. I don't really like this kind of thing either. What kind of girl would like something like this? Lola felt the same way. The occultism is too mysterious. My father once said that this kind of thing is very rare in history, but whenever it does appear, it would always be this incomplete style. Lola swung the stump arm around. This thing can only be used twice in total. When I obtained it, it had already been used once, so there's only one use left. What does it do? Gu Qingshan asked. At this point, the stump arm moved on its own. The eye on the stump arm opened and stared at Lola. Young lady, you really want to return to your kingdom, but I have to tell you that you are about to be placed in danger. The stump arm spoke with a hoarse voice. Lola explained to Gu Qingshan and Lin. It can detect what the user wants to do, as well as the environment that the user will be in for a period of time. If the environment is dangerous, it will help the user find other rescuers. How does it detect the environment? Is it reliable? Lin asked. I don't understand either. Lola turned to ask the stump arm. Hey, what kind of danger did you say I'm in? The stump arm replied. A lot of professionists are currently on their way. They will either capture you or kill you. This is the order they received. The three of them went silent. Gu Qingshan and Lin's expressions turned serious. Someone wants to make a move against Lola. Even if they have to face the entire Bramblebird Kingdom and the Great Bramble Tree, they would still dare to make a move. They wouldn't be a normal person. Seeing Gu Qingshan and Lin's expressions, Lola spoke with uncertainty. That shouldn't be possible. This ship of mine is invisible. Unless they use a very specific method, they wouldn't be able to find us, the stump arm replied. It is that method. When Lola wanted to ask more, Gu Qingshan signaled her not to be impatient. He personally asked the stump arm, Who ordered them to come here? I'm not sure. I only know what kind of danger you will face if you hold me, but I don't know the details of the danger, the stump arm replied. Gu Qingshan asked, You said mutual rescuers just now. What is a mutual rescuer? This equipment can only be used once. Young lady, you can activate the equipment's power to save someone you don't know. Then that person might be able to help young lady in the future. This is a mutual rescuer. Gu Qingshan thought for a bit, then asked further, Why would there be such a thing as a mutual rescuer? This is the equipment's rule, but there's no guarantee that after you save someone else, they will definitely save you. Who can predict such a thing? The stump arm replied. Gu Qingshan then asked, After you use up your 2 usage rights, what will you do? The stump arm replied, I will search for my body. After all, I'm only a stump arm. The three of them looked up and exchanged glances. Use it, Lola. Saving someone isn't a bad thing. This person might actually be able to save you in the future, Gu Qingshan told her. Lola tilted her head and thought for a bit, then put the stump arm into Gu Qingshan's hand. Gu Qingshan looked at her in confusion. Laura took a deep breath and said with a smile on her face, I don't need anyone to save me. Why not? Because if I run into any danger, I have you, Gu Qingshan. As a Duke of the Kingdom, you definitely won't let anyone kill me, right? Of course, I will save you. Then that's fine. I don't need this thing, but you might face more danger than I do, so you should use it. Gu Qingshan was a bit moved but didn't know what to say. At this point, Lola began to ask the stump arm frowny face, Hey, you're already in his hands. He should still be safe, right? Safe? The stump arm's eyes opened wide and shouted, "What he wants to do is too great. There won't be a single moment where he's safe. Please remember this book's domain name." Mobile version, Am. Chapter 1025. Regardless of how much Gu Qingshan refused, Lola insisted that he use the fake arm. She even threatened Gu Qingshan that if he didn't use it, she would throw the fake arm into the space vortex. Without any other choice, Gu Qingshan could only accept her goodwill. Holding the wooden arm, lines of glowing text appeared on the war god UI, frowny face occultism. Hint of friendship, only two, because there's another arm. This item is able to understand the wielder's wish, predict the wielder's environment, and surpass the limits of space to save a mutual rescuer. Remaining uses, 1/2. Usage steps, 1. Pick it up, 2. Use it to grab the void of space, 3. Capture a mutual rescuer who is in a life or death situation and bring them to your space. Gu Qingshan silently praised. This item had 3 functions, and one of them could even surpass the limits of space to save someone. Mystic type were already powerful, and occultism was one of the best among them. However, occultism items were too rare and hard to come by. Is it really that hard to use this thing? Lin stood on one side with her arms crossed and asked with interest. Gu Qingshan read the lines of glowing text on the war god UI and replied, "It doesn't seem to be that hard." Saying so, he grabbed one end of the wooden arm into the void of space. The arm flew through the void of space, then pulled back. But it didn't catch anything. The 3 of them felt that it was a bit strange. "Hey, why didn't you catch any mutual rescuers?" Lola couldn't help but ask. "It's like this. Just now, I had just caught someone from a dangerous situation, but he immediately stopped breathing, so I let him go," the wooden arm replied. "So you're that unreliable," Gu Qingshan said disappointedly. The eyes on the wooden arm opened wide and explained, "Brat, you need to know your limits." "Know my limits?" Gu Qingshan asked. The wooden arm helplessly replied, "It's too hard to find a suitable mutual rescuer for someone like you." "Then what should we do?" Gu Qingshan asked helplessly. "Let me take a look." "I have to take a good look." The eyes on the wooden arm looked into the void, the eyeballs constantly moving as if they were observing many worlds. Suddenly he cried out, "Quick, grab him again with all your strength. I've found you a very good companion, but he's in an extremely dangerous situation and is about to die." Gu Qingshan hurriedly grabbed the wooden arm and slashed at the void of space again. Learning from the previous lesson, he even used his sword technique this time, just to catch the guy who was about to be killed as soon as possible. The wooden arm slashed through the void. Gu Qingshan suddenly felt a heavy weight on her arm. "Got him!" he yelled, grabbed the wooden arm with both hands, and swung it back. At the same time, 900 million world layers. The enemy-occupied area. A certain ruined world near the strife zones. The soul shrieker descended from the sky. The entire world kept shaking and collapsing. Under its relentless attacks, the world was about to be destroyed. In the face of endless chaos, even you can only die, the soul shrieker declared triumphantly. In front of it, the man knelt down on one knee and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He calmly spoke, "How regretful that my main body isn't here otherwise." The soul shrieker scoffed. "You won't have that chance. I'm gaining more and more power of chaos. Once your main body arrives from the bottom of the eternal abyss, I will no longer be afraid of you now, die." Boundless power erupted from its body. The void of space twisted and spread to both sides. Within the intense wind, an attack infused with the power of chaos had arrived. The man sighed as his gaze turned sharp. "Even if it's the last moment, I'll face it with battle." He attacked with all his strength. Boom! The vast power of chaos rushed forward and slammed him into the ground with unstoppable force. At this point, a strange wooden arm abruptly reached out, grabbed the man, and disappeared from this world. "No!" the soul shrieker angrily roared. It only moved a bit before it reached the ground, but there was nothing left. Only the lingering spatial fluctuations were still spreading in every direction. The soul shrieker quickly crouched down, closed its eyes, and carefully sensed the spatial fluctuations. Close to the mystic zones. Too far, the soul shrieker regretfully said. Not good. I need to go to the strife zones and eliminate the order first. That's the most important thing. It stood up, leapt into the sky, and left this destroyed world. At another location, bam! A black figure landed on the ground. The few of them gathered around and saw that it was a man covered in dust. The man's wounds were horrifying, and he was currently unconscious. The wooden arm sighed in relief and spoke. There, he still has one last breath left. Because he is an entity like him, as long as we don't use that power to attack him, he will slowly recover. I'm done with my business. Goodbye. The wooden arm waved at Gu Qingshan, Lola, and Lin. It leapt into the sky and disappeared from their sights. The three of them retracted their gazes and looked down at the ground. The man looked like he was dug out from the rubble, completely covered in a layer of dust and dirt, making it impossible to see his face. Who is this guy? Lola asked. If you don't know, I definitely don't know, Gu Qingshan replied. He formed a hand seal. Cleanse. All the dust on the man's body flew up and scattered towards the void of space outside the Bramblebird ship. The man's appearance and attire were clearly displayed in front of everyone. Seeing the man's appearance, Lin was a bit surprised. Why does he look a bit like the rumored? She muttered, crouched down, and carefully examined the man. There were no issues with his body. This was a normal human male, with a fashionable hairstyle and a pair of black-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose. How did that person know about all of this? More importantly, how terrifyingly powerful was that person? How could he have been beaten to this state? Indeed, that's impossible. Lin's heart slowly relaxed. Gu Qingshan began to examine the man's wounds. His wounds are a bit heavy, but the wooden arm said he wouldn't die, so I'll take care of his wounds first, Gu Qingshan said. At this point, the Bramblebird ship suddenly shook and stopped moving forward. As if something was blocking the ship's path, it didn't know what to do. Lola and Lin both looked up at the same time. From the space vortex in front of them, ships were appearing one after another. These spaceships were densely packed in the void turbulence, blocking all paths forward. Let's change directions, Lin said indifferently. There's no time, Lola replied. Then, all sorts of ships appeared from every direction. These spaceships surrounded Laura's ship, making it impossible for even a drop of water to pass through. Groups of professionists leapt out from their ships and headed towards the Bramblebird ship. Hand over Queen Thorns, the leader of the group yelled. Lola ran behind Gu Qingshan and poked him with her finger. What now? I'm not good at fighting. Gu Qingshan's head was still lowered as she continued to treat the man's wounds. Lin, he casually spat out a single word. Lin looked at him, then at Lola's begging expression and smiled. I usually don't refuse to fight, but is there a problem, big sis? Lola immediately asked. There's no problem. It's just that swatting mosquitoes is really boring, Lin replied. Her slender body, slightly lowered, took a stance on the deck of the ship, then slowly threw a punch at the void of space in front of her. Or rather, it was a punch. But as this punch was being thrown, it vibrated countless times at a speed that couldn't be detected by the naked eye. Front, back, above, below, left, right? All the professionists that surrounded the Bramblebird ship were instantly crushed by the punch that abruptly manifested from the void of space. Within the space vortex, a bright red color abruptly filled the entire space, then quickly moved away like a tsunami. This was an incredibly shocking martial arts technique. When Lin returned to her peak state, she was this powerful. The chaotic space vortex that had just become chaotic once again returned to calm under a punch. I really don't like to bully the weak, but since you dare to provoke me, you should be responsible for your own life and death, Lin pulled her fist back and calmly said. At the same time, a faraway place in the strife zones, the abyssal magic dragon was standing in the middle of an endless sea of treasures, carefully counting the treasures recorded on the booklet. All of a sudden, a devout and panicked voice resounded from the void of space. Oh, great God! We have something to report to you. Magic Dragon scowled in annoyance and stared at the booklet, asking, What is it? My follower, in a place close to the mystic zones on a hidden waterway, The people we sent ran into Queen Thorns, but all of them were killed what? Magic Dragon abruptly looked up and shouted. The voice became even more anxious and continued to report. There was a combatant that we couldn't fight against protecting Queen Thorns. She killed all of us in an instant. Was it the Bramble Great Tree? It wasn't it. According to our analysis, it should be the Queen's personal bodyguard. Personal bodyguard? All right, I got it. You can leave now. Yes, the abyssal magic dragon silently stood still and thought for a while. Such a powerful bodyguard. How strange, he muttered and slowly made up his mind. Seems like I'll have to make a trip myself. No matter what, the queen in charge of the treasure vault will become my slave. Chapter 10:26. The Bramblebird airship was quickly gliding through the void of space. All the professionists who came to surround the airship had been annihilated. The void of space returned to normal. The countless professionists just now seemed like a scene that was forcibly inserted into the scene, instantly disappearing from Gu Qingshan's group. Gu Qingshan stood up from the ground. The man's wounds had basically been treated, but Gu Qingshan wasn't sure when he would wake up. The man was lying motionlessly on the deck of the ship, still unconscious. Will this guy who was captured by the wooden arm be able to help me in the future? Gu Qingshan looked at the man, feeling a bit uncertain. But this man really was saved from the void of space. Gu Qingshan had a deep understanding of the power of occultism. Right now, he could only wait for the other party to wake up first. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight to observe the void of space, only to see that it was completely clear around them. All the professionists who came to surround them had been annihilated by Lin. You killed them all? He couldn't help but ask. You were the one who told me to act? Is there a problem? Lin asked in return. Gu Qingshan smiled apologetically. There's no problem, of course there's no problem. Well done. But in his tone, there was more or less some regret. He only had a pitiful 2 soul points right now. If there was an emergency, he wouldn't be able to use many of his abilities. Lin thought for a bit and slowly understood. I remember now. You seem to have a strange order that allows you to obtain the soul points of other combatants through slaughter. If I knew this would happen, I would have crippled them all, Lin said. Seeing her regretful expression, Gu Qingshan had no choice but to console her. It's fine, we'll talk about it next time there's an enemy. Does it have to be someone stronger than you? Lin asked with a contemplative look on his face. About the same as me. Gu Qingshan released his inner sight, saw Lin's restless expression, and hurriedly added, In truth, I don't like to randomly kill people. Only enemies that I can confirm can be killed. Lin immediately understood what he was worried about and spoke with a meaningful tone. Ah, you sure have a lot of requirements. How come I couldn't tell that you were a saint? I'm not as noble as you make me out to be. It's just that I really can't bring myself to do it if you just randomly grab someone for me to kill. Gu Qingshan smiled bitterly. The two of them suddenly paused. Within the space vortex, a blazing light flashed. This streak of light was so fast that it reached the deck of the Bramblebird ship in the blink of an eye. Dong! The entire spaceship shook slightly. A rock golem, wearing a full set of gray armor, appeared in front of the three of them. Master of the Southern Cross Nebula World. Lola exclaimed. An acquaintance? Gu Qingshan asked. He sized up the other party and sensed a familiar aura from the other party. In ancient times, Gu Qingshan had once transformed into an immortal giant. Now, the rock golem he was facing now also had some traces of an immortal giant. This elemental life form was truly powerful. No, he's an entity even stronger than a lord, the most powerful entity of the Earth elemental race. Even within the 900 million world layers, he's one of the top VIPs, Lola whispered. The burly rock golem also noticed Lola. He appeared a bit surprised and asked, Queen of Thorns? Which means it was you and your subordinates. Who saved that person? Who? Lola didn't quite understand. The master of the Southern Cross Nebula World pointed at the ground. The three of them looked down to see that the other party was pointing at the unconscious man. I saved him, what about it? Gu Qingshan asked. The rock golem smirked. Then there's no other way. Master is too far away from here. So he ordered me to take this guy away, as well as kill the person who saved him. He cracked his neck, exuding intense killing intent as he quickly locked onto Guqing Shan. Guqing Shan was silently surprised. This guy doesn't seem to be here for Lola, but for the man I just saved. In other words, there were currently two groups of people who had their eyes on this ship. One group wanted to capture Lola. The other group wanted to take this unconscious man away. Things were happening one after another, giving off an inexplicable feeling that a storm was brewing. Guqing Shan opened his hand and silently grabbed the Earth Sword. Next to him, Lola nervously spoke. "Master of the Southern Cross Nebula World, why do you have to do this? In truth, I can give you any treasure, as long as you're willing to ignore him." As she spoke, the faint image of the great bramble tree manifested behind her. Even with so many people surrounding this place earlier, Lola didn't summon the great bramble tree. But now, she had directly summoned the ancient tree. The Rockman glanced at the great bramble tree and appeared a bit cautious. "If this was any other time, I would be willing to do you a favor without much trouble. But this time, there is no treasure that could compare to what Master is about to grant me." Lola panicked and was about to offer even more generous conditions, but Lin stopped her. Lin stood in front of her and looked at Guqing Shan. "This guy seems to be a bit stronger than you," she commented. Guqing Shan replied. "He wants to steal your mutual savior." He wants to kill you." Still a saint?" Lin teased. "I've never been a saint. You know that," Guqing Shan replied. Recalling what happened in the past, Lin scoffed in irritation. "This guy, why isn't he afraid of me now? Should I teach him a small lesson?" While Lin was contemplating, the Earth Elemental combatant had already lost his patience and moved. "Die!" It let out a roar and disappeared from where it stood. At the same time, Lin also moved. Lin lightly leapt up, raised her long and slender leg, and swiftly slashed downwards. Guqing Shan followed suit and swung the Earth Sword upwards. Life extinguished broken rocks scattered all over the place, fell to the ground, and scattered everywhere. Lines of glowing text suddenly appeared on the war god UI. "Frowny face, you've killed the Earth Elemental combatant. Master of the Southern Cross Nebula World." He didn't say his name, so I can only call him that. "You've obtained 50,000 soul points, remaining soul points, 50,000/600. Reminder, this battle was extremely shameless, going against the war god UI's principles." Guqing Shan scowled and spoke to the UI. "I know you also took some soul points, so either you talk nicely or you take out the soul points you obtained and throw them away." The war god UI froze for a split second. The last line of glowing text disappeared. A new notification appeared. "Frowny face, I really must say, this was a perfect duo." Guqing Shan skimmed through it and didn't bother to pay attention to this UI anymore. Now that she had 50,000 soul points, she had a lot more options in battle. Guqing Shan felt a bit safer. "Oh no," Lin suddenly said. "What's the matter?" Guqing Shan asked. "I killed him too quickly. I forgot to ask who his master was," Lin replied. Guqing Shan asked, "Lola, since you know this person, you must have some information about him?" Lola shook her head and replied, "Such a combatant is already one of the few in the 900 million world layers. I really don't know who would be able to order him around," Lin added. Furthermore, his intention to kill Guqing Shan was only a side effect. His true intention was to take the mutual rescuer away. They both turned to the man. The man was still unconscious. It was unknown when he would wake up. Lola sighed and said, "At first, I didn't believe that this guy was Guqing Shan mutual rescuer, but when his opponent turned out to be someone at the level of the Master of the Southern Cross Nebula World, I started to believe it a bit more." Guqing Shan casually formed a hand seal. The man floated into the air, flew into one of the rooms in the ship, and landed on a bed. Guqing Shan said, "I'm not hoping for him to save me right now. I only hope that he can bring me a bit more soul points." At this point, the ship suddenly began to slow down. "Is someone else here?" Lin asked. "No," Lola looked around and smiled. "We've actually reached the end of this flight path, entered the mystic zones, and are about to reach my kingdom." The scenery around them changed. A gigantic ancient tree stood in the space vortex. The ship was nothing but a speck of dust in front of this ancient tree. They finally arrived. Chapter 10:27. The Strife Zones. A world that had been completely destroyed. Intense wind howled. The remains of the ruins were carried away by the intense wind into the space vortex, disappearing without a trace. At a certain point, Sushare threw out a card. The twin-bladed assassin on the card leapt out and charged towards the enemy. Sushare's enemy was a famous combatant, a peak Lord-class combatant with a great reputation in the Strife Zones. With just this, the combatant coldly smirked and stopped the bloody assassin's attack. Anna abruptly threw the black scythe forward. The scythe turned into a cluster of black flames that struck the combatant's body like a blinding pillar of light. The combatant screamed in pain, unable to stop the pillar of light with all his strength. "Hurry, Sushare," Anna called out. "Got it." Below the black flames, the sea of blood began to churn with great waves. Sushare drew a card from the void of space and threw it forward. Dark blood chrysalis, drain all of his power. Sushare loudly shouted. The card turned into a blood-colored chrysalis that completely enveloped the combatant. What a shallow trick. If it was your master who used this card, it would be more like it. The combatant's furious roar resounded from inside the chrysalis. Anna tried her best to remain standing and whispered to Sushare, "I'm afraid we won't be able to trap him." "That's right." Sushare covered the wound on her shoulder with one hand and replied. In the end, they were still stopped by the pursuers. The two of them fell into a tough battle. They were fighting while running, but the pursuers were getting more and more powerful. By the time they reached this world, the two of them had already used up most of their power. Right after that, they ran into an unprecedentedly powerful enemy. Even now, they still haven't managed to kill them. But we can't let this drag on any longer. A hair-raising feeling quietly grew in the hearts of the two of them. Something was quickly approaching this world. Let's risk our lives. If there's no other choice, we'll have to use a method where both sides lose. Anna gritted her teeth. "I'll go first." Sushare took out a blood-red card and held it in her hand. "It doesn't matter who goes first. What's there to argue about?" Anna said grumpily. Suddenly, both of them raised their heads. In the sky filled with gray clouds, a woman silently descended. She wore a rainbow-colored feather robe and held a long saber in her hand. She pounced toward the dark blood chrysalis in the wind. "One of us?" Anna asked quickly. "No, I don't," replied Sushare, staring at the woman. "But she seems—" Before he could finish his sentence, the situation on the field suddenly changed. Boom! The dark blood chrysalis completely shattered. That expert reappeared in front of the two of them, his fists still in motion. At this moment, the woman had already landed. A faint saber light flashed. What a fast saber! Sushare and Anna's jaws dropped as they watched. They were slightly dazed. The saber suddenly bloomed, erupting with all the Swordmaster's power in an instant, completely disregarding the consequences and life and death. It was simply too amazing. I really don't know what kind of person would be able to unleash such a strike. This was a fatal strike. The intense saber phantom was compressed to its limit, finally exploding as it pierced through the enemy's neck. The surging saber chi turned into a gust of wind that blew the severed head away, unable to find where it went. Only the headless corpse was left standing in place. The woman sheathed her saber. She spat out a mouthful of blood. The timing of her attack was perfect, using all of her concentration and power to surpass the limits of her strength to kill an enemy who was much stronger than herself. Wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth, the woman turned around and looked at Sushare and Anna. "Shenwu World's human general, Ningyue-chan, greets the two of you." Ningyue-chan had a tired expression on her face. Her entire body was covered in dust. Clearly she had rushed here as fast as she could. Sushare stared blankly at Ningyue-chan, and so did Anna. Even though she's about as strong as us, that strike just now was enough to make even the world lose its color. She was truly an extraordinary woman. With Anna's help, Sushare barely managed to stand up. She came in front of Ningyue-chan. "It's you?" she asked. "It's me. I've been tracking your location," Ningyue-chan replied. "Come, let's quickly finish this." Sushare reached her hand out. "All right." Ningyuechan also reached her hand out to touch Su Share's. Following their actions, a line of blood-red text appeared in their vision at the same time. Fusion will begin. 5, 4, 3, 1. World's Apocalypse Online. Demon King Descent has been awakened. This order is the Demon King of Condemnation. Gu Qingshan's personal Demon King order from the age of old. This order has sensed the Demon King of Condemnation's location. The Mystic Zones, the Bramble Bird Kingdom. If Gu Qingshan wants to survive within the chaos, she must fuse with me as soon as possible. Reading this description, Su Share opened her eyes wide. Ningyuechan also pursed her lips. This matter is related to his life and death. Su Share reluctantly smiled at Ningyuechan and said, "You're called Ning? Ningyuechan? Thank you for that slash. Leave the rest to us. We'll go find Gu Qingshan. You can escape now." Ningyuechan went silent briefly, then shook her head. "I'll go with you. I also need to find him." Su Share and Anna both felt their hearts skip a beat. What does she mean by that? Su Share's expression changed and was about to ask. At this point, Ningyuechan took out a badge and showed it to Su Share and Anna. The badge gave off a rich green glow, giving off an air of vicissitudes. The Bramble Bird Kingdom's Emperor's Guard badge, which means, "You're a citizen of the Bramble Bird Kingdom?" Anna asked. "I am," Ningyuechan replied. "But you said before that you were a general of Shenwu World," Su Share doubtfully asked. Ningyuechan casually replied, "That is my home. Before I left that place, I didn't even know that there were so many powerful worlds. Your home is a scattered world?" Yes, Su Share and Anna exchanged glances. A sense of recognition rose in the hearts of the two. That's right. Who would know just how small their original world was when they first entered the 900 million world layers? She's a citizen of the Bramble Bird Kingdom. Even if they don't find Gu Qingshan, she'll still have to return to the Bramble Bird Kingdom. "All right, we'll go together, but we're both wounded, so I'm afraid we'll drag you down," Su Share tried asking. Ningyuechan smiled warmly. "It's fine. Although we don't know each other, you're both in danger right now, and you're all wounded. I can't leave in peace." Su Share and Anna froze again. If anyone else had said this, they would have sounded fake, or perhaps they were purposely trying to show how friendly they were. But when it came from Ningyuechan, it only sounded natural. She really did think that, and she really was that kind of person. Su Share and Anna's impression of her improved a bit more. "We need to hurry. I have a bad feeling if we stay here for too long," Ningyuechan scowled. "I also have the same feeling. Let's go," Su Share agreed. Let's go together," Anna also agreed. The three girls disappeared from this world. About half an hour later, a towering figure appeared in the sky of this world. The abyssal behemoth. The soul shrieker jumped down from the behemoth's back. Dong! It landed in the middle of the barren world, closed its eyes, and silently sensed its surroundings. A few moments later, a smile appeared on its half-man, half-woman face. "I haven't been gone for too long. I'll catch up very soon. Everything will be over soon." The soul shrieker flew up into the sky. At another location, the Mystic Zones, the Bramble Bird Kingdom, Gu Qingshan met Yi Fei Li in the royal palace. "So, me becoming a duke was originally a way for you to lure Zhang Yongho out?" Yi Fei Li asked. "That's right. I didn't think you'd actually enter the 900 million world layers." "That's fine. I brought you here directly, saving me a lot of trouble." Gu Qingshan smiled and replied. Yi Fei Li smiled bitterly and replied, "I had already prepared myself for battle, but as soon as I came out, I gained untold wealth and authority. To be honest, I still haven't realized it." Gu Qingshan replied. "In truth, you came at the perfect time. The battle is about to begin, and I'm lacking a helper. What do you need me to do?" Yi Fei Li seriously asked. "First of all, we need to find the Demon King Order," Gu Qingshan replied. "Demon King Order?" "That's right." Gu Qingshan carefully explained the situation to Yi Fei Li. At this point, a guard came in from outside and reported to everyone. "A guy called Zhang Zongyang says he's Count Ye's relative, asking to see Count Yi." Lola looked at Gu Qingshan and asked, "Is he the one you wanted to lure out?" Gu Qingshan released her inner sight to scan and smiled. "That's right, he's finally here." Chapter 1028. While waiting for Zhang Yongho, Yifei Li explained the situation of her homeworld to Gu Shan. You've climbed the entire world tower? Gu Shan asked with interest. Ah, yes. It's all thanks to you making this thing that I was able to become stronger so quickly, Yifei Li replied. How was it? Was it hard to climb the tower? Gu Shan asked. The entire process was like an adventure game. I'm quite good at that, Yifei Li said with a hint of pride. Have Bali and Miao also climbed the entire tower? They haven't. The presence of the abyss is still flowing into the 900 million world layers. Even the scattered worlds are facing the same problem. So they've been trying to put out the fire. Sometimes they'll also go out and secretly save a few friends from the 900 million world layers, right? Why didn't Liao Xing come? There are too many unknown things in the 900 million world layers. I don't believe he wouldn't be tempted. Gu Shan was a bit confused. About that, huh? How do I say this? He has a lot of children. Yes, I know, Gu Shan nodded. When Gu Shan first came into contact with Liao Xing, he had a very deep impression of him. He has too many children, the oldest of whom are already old enough to get married. So he always has to worry about his children's marriages, buying a house, buying a car, finding a job, and so on. It's already the end of the world. He's still looking for a job. Of course, every day you live requires money. There's nothing you can do about it. All the criminals have been killed by impartial goddess. Is the world in chaos? No. If the abyssal calamity hadn't happened, my homeworld would have been fine. The samsara had fused into one. Everything was thriving. In truth, Bali and Miao are also living quite well there. I think they don't want to leave. That's true. After all, Gu Shan recalled their distressed looks, then recalled the 2 unlimited credit cards that impartial goddess gave them, and nodded in understanding. Speaking of which, it's been a long time since I went back. I wonder how much impartial goddess has evolved. As Gu Shan was lost in her thoughts, the guard brought a person into the room. This was a man full of masculinity. He wore sunglasses and had a cigarette in his mouth. His hands are in his pockets. Zhang Young-ho. It feels like we haven't met for a long time. He greeted. Gu Shan and Yifei Li both smiled and stood up, each giving him a hug. I heard that after I left, you've been preparing to kill the divinities? Gu Shan asked. You're my partner. If you die, I'll definitely suffer a huge loss. I have to get something back, Zhang Young-ho said. The two of them looked at each other. Something's wrong. What happened to your eyes? Zhang Young-ho's expression changed. It's nothing. I've been practicing a spell recently, so my eyes can't see the light for now, Gu Shan answered. I see. It was only now that Zhang Young-ho calmed down. He walked up to the sofa, sat down, and propped his feet up on the table. I'm so tired from all the traveling. Do you have anything to eat? I haven't eaten for a few days already, he said in a relaxed tone. Even after going through so many baptisms, he still appeared to be very casual and natural. Perhaps that's how assassins are. The Bramble Bird Kingdom's royal palace should be able to guarantee the most basic level of safety. And with his 2 old brothers, Gu Shan and Yifei Li, Zhang Young-ho didn't need to be so arrogant anymore. Let's have dinner together later. I'll introduce everyone first. Gu Shan greeted everyone. This is Queen of Thorns, Lola. Lola smiled brightly. Hello, everyone. I've heard about you from Gu Shan. I hope you'll have a good time in my kingdom. Of course, Zhang Young-ho and Yifei Li both replied. Gu Shan continued. This is my older sister. She's Lin. Lin waved her hand to greet everyone. Since when did you have an older sister? Zhang Young-ho asked in confusion. We've been separated for many years. For many years, Gu Shan answered vaguely. He then turned to Lin and Lola and introduced. This is Yifei Li, my friend. Yifei Li cautiously waved her hand at the 2 ladies. Lin stared at Yifei Li for a while and curiously asked, I can tell that you're a world destroyer. Your evolution process was interrupted once, then suddenly turned into a perfectly evolved one. How rare. Do you have any abilities right now? She had always been interested in all kinds of new abilities. Yifei Li originally didn't want to say anything, but after thinking about it, this was Gu Shan's older sister, and from the way Gu Shan and this woman talked and acted, the 2 of them seemed to be getting along very well. It didn't seem fake. Since they weren't strangers, it would be a good thing for them to get to know each other better in future battles. Perhaps that was why Gu Qing wanted them to get to know each other. With that in mind, Yi Fei Li explained, "There's nothing much to say about combat. This is my unique ability." As he reached his hand out, an invisible force gathered in his hand and formed a can. "What is this?" Gu Qing was also a bit interested and asked. "Soul Point's beverage," Yi Fei Li mysteriously replied. "Soul Point's beverage? Why haven't I heard of it before?" Lin asked further. Yi Fei Li replied, "I named it myself. When I deal damage to an enemy, I can absorb their soul points, store them, and convert them into various beverages at any time. What kind of functions do these beverages have?" Zhang Yongho asked with interest. "The most basic function is to heal wounds, but later on, I developed a type of power endurance, spirit energy, psychokinesis, mana, energy, etc. Basically, they can all be replenished," Yi Fei Li explained. Gu Qing uses this. Why does it sound a bit like the stamina replenishment stuff you find in games? "That's exactly it," Yi Fei Li excitedly said. "As long as I deal damage to an enemy, I can steal their soul points and directly store them to replenish our strength against stronger enemies." Everyone went silent. "This guy is probably addicted to games," Zhang Yongho silently thought. "What an interesting power. What an eye-opener," Lin nodded, expressing that she was satisfied with what she saw this time. Lola thought for a bit and asked, "Then, how does this beverage taste?" Yi Fei Li was a bit dejected. "The taste is random. I've studied this for a long time. Unfortunately, I couldn't control it. Can I try it?" Lola was eager to try. "What do you want to replenish?" "Energy. Wait a moment." "There you go." Lola received the can and opened it. She carefully took a sip. It smells like champagne." Lola took another sip and couldn't help but feel excited. "That's great. I don't have to worry about getting fat anymore," she exclaimed. Yi Fei Li and Zhang Yongho were both a bit confused. Gu Qing and Lin were a bit surprised. If she could directly replenish her energy, wouldn't that mean Lola would be able to grab even more treasures? Unless Yi Fei Li's soul point storage ran out, Lola wouldn't have to worry about overeating or getting fat. That's impressive. Sure enough, Lola casually grabbed something from the void of space. A bunch of ancient gold coins fell to the ground. "Ah, from now on, no one will be able to stop me from finding treasures," Lola happily declared. Gu Qing thought for a bit and asked, "Yi Fei Li, can you directly pour the soul points you stole into a beverage without converting them?" "I can. It'll save me a lot of effort that way," Yi Fei Li happily replied. Gu Qing patted his shoulder and said, "That's great." This time he was also glad. "I now have another source of soul points. Most importantly, this source doesn't need to be exploited by the war god UI. This source doesn't need to be exploited by the war god UI. This source doesn't need to be exploited by the war god UI. Important things must be repeated 3 times. Yi Fei Li then asked, "Hey, stop talking about me. What kind of abilities do you have?" Lola then took out a compass from the void of space and said, "I won't say anything else. Everyone knows about my abilities. Indeed, as the richest person in the 900 million world layers, Lola was too famous. Her 3 abilities had already become an open secret." Yi Fei Li looked at Gu Qing. 4 swords suddenly appeared behind Gu Qing back. "4 swords. You're still using swords." Yi Fei Li nodded, then looked at Lin. Lin crossed her arms and casually said, "I don't have any special abilities, but even if the 2 of you work together, you probably won't be able to win against me." Yi Fei Li and Zhang Yongho exchanged glances, then both looked at Gu Qing. Gu Qing nodded in confirmation. The 2 of them sucked in a cold breath. No wonder this woman was able to become Gu Qing older sister. Yi Fei Li then looked at Zhang Yongho and asked, "What about you? It's been a while. How's your killer card coming along?" Zhang Yongho smiled bitterly and dejectedly said, "Even after seeing your abilities, I still feel like a normal person. You're not normal at all. After being hunted for so long in the strife zones, not even the many combatants sent by the divinities were able to catch you," Lin casually replied. Gu Qing silently glanced at her. "I remember that before I returned, the divinity of the strife zones was Lin." Zhang Yongho shook his head and sighed. "I'm too far away from you guys. I don't even think those writers or movie writers would arrange characters like this. They usually have several heroes of equal strength form an alliance and go save the world together. Just look at us. I'm nothing but a little brother in front of you, Gu Qing Shan consoled him. That's still a little brother who can kill people. Not to mention, this isn't it. Zhang Young-ho then changed the topic and said, however, I always rely on my friends when I'm away from home. Just now, an old friend told me that he wants to meet you. Meet me? Gu Qing Shan was surprised. Zhang Young-ho took out a black handgun from his chest pocket and placed it on the table. Chapter 1029. Zhang Young-ho put the black handgun on the table. What does that mean? While everyone was curious, the black handgun abruptly stood up and pointed at Gu Qing Shan. Ah, little one, how have you been lately? The handgun said. Gu Qing Shan was stunned for a split second, then recalled a familiar figure. It was a powerful firearm that could easily destroy any enemy it wanted. When it pointed at Trieste, she didn't dare to act recklessly. Bali and Miao were its friends. Yunji and Chunwang were also its brothers. But when it went to God Institute to investigate the Soul Shrieker, it lost to it, and the Spire Guardian reported that it had been destroyed. Your senior submachine gun, he loudly called out. The black handgun replied. That's me, long time no see. Didn't you sacrifice yourself? Gu Qing Shan hurriedly asked. The black handgun sighed. That monster was too powerful. I suddenly realized at the very last moment that I couldn't win against it, and so I used the last bit of my strength to escape the moment I collapsed, then drifted through the space vortex for a few dozen days before I finally gathered all of those components and formed this handgun. The black handgun cleared its throat and solemnly said, let me introduce myself again. Please call me Submachine Gun. Gu Qing Shan looked at it, then at Zhang Young-ho, and asked, how did you get to know this friend of mine? The black handgun replied, Little Ling Hao's assassination skills are quite decent. Both the submachine gun and the handgun are passable, but his strength is still a bit lacking. But his strength can always be improved. Little Ling Hao had always been searching for a suitable gun in the Hitman spirit linking world at the time. I had to think about it carefully before I was introduced to him by a hitman in the spirit linking world, Zhang Young-ho explained. Senior and I had an agreement. It would fight alongside me, while I slowly collected unique components to repair it, finally helping it return to its peak state. Gu Qing Shan suddenly understood. He suddenly remembered that he had seen Zhang Young-ho's wanted poster not long ago. At that time, Zhang Young-ho was holding a gun in one hand and a card in the other. It seemed like he had been using this spear for a long time, and his fighting style was also very mature, which was why he left a deep impression on many people, and thus recorded it. Not bad, Gu Qing Shan praised. I've always believed that equipment and brains are more important than strength. You've done a great job. That's right, killing is like hunting. Beasts will always be stronger than humans, but humans will always have a way to borrow the power of other beasts and use suitable methods to kill their targets, Zhang Young-ho explained. The two of them bumped fists. At this point, the Bramble Bird General Ilya came into the room and reported, Your Majesty, the ceremony is about to begin. The guests from all over the world have arrived to observe. Watch the ceremony? What ceremony? Lola asked in confusion. Your Majesty, have you forgotten? We've already announced that Yi Fei Li's coronation ceremony will be held tonight, Ilya reminded her. Ah, so it's about that. I've only just returned, so I forgot, Lola realized. She looked at Yi Fei Li. She now had a good impression of Yi Fei Li. After all, the other party was able to help her maintain her figure, and she was also Gu Qing Shan's friend. Let's go, Yi Fei Li. Come with me to complete the coronation ceremony in front of the 900 million world layers. Lola waved her hand. Isn't this specifically to lure out Zhang Young-ho? Why did you take it so seriously? Yi Fei Li asked. I'm the Empress. How could I go back on my word? Not to mention, you'll definitely have to fight alongside me and Gu Qing Shan in the future. Gu Qing Shan, what do you say? Lola asked. I have no objections. But there were already a lot of people trying to kill us on our way back, so I don't think you should show yourself in public, Gu Qing Shan said. Ilya agreed. Your Majesty, I was just about to report that we've received some secret information. Your safety will soon be faced with a great challenge. While I was on a ship, I was already reminded of my safety by an item. But who would dare to try and kill me? Is he not afraid of the Bramblebird Great Tree? Or is he not afraid that I'll crush him to death with 9,000 treasure worlds? Lola asked in irritation. Gu Shan muses, if he dares to show himself, it means that he naturally has a way to deal with you. There are too many strange and unusual abilities within the infinite world layers. But our goal is also very clear. The issue of your safety will have to be resolved once and for all. Do you have any good ideas? Lola asked. I do. I'll do it in your place, Gu Shan replied. You'll do it in my place? Lola was surprised. I'll disguise myself as you. Lin and Zhang Young-ho will follow me. When the danger appears, we'll directly crush it, then follow the clues to find the source, Gu Shan said. Lin agreed. That's right. Always being watched from the shadows isn't a long-term solution. It's best to deal with it once and for all. Gu Shan turned to the others. What do you think? Zhang Young-ho replied. I'm fine with it. He picked up the assault pistol and hid it somewhere. Yi Fei said. Me too. Gu Shan turned to Lola and asked. Lola, what do you think? Lola clenched her small fists and angrily asked. Gu Shan, are you sure? These are all minor tricks. Normal people would only be crushed in front of us without any problems. Unless it's the Soul Shrieker, Gu Shan smiled and replied. Lola replied, all right, I agree, but how are you going to disguise yourself as me? Do I need to call my personal makeup artist? No need. I'll borrow a strand of your hair, Gu Shan replied. Hair? Lola pulled out a strand of hair without hesitation and put in Gu Shan's hand. At another location, Su Cher, Anna, and Ning Yuechan were sitting on a large card, borrowing the power of the wind of the void to quickly travel towards the mystic zones. Ning Yuechan's expression was becoming more and more solemn. We can't go on like this. I can already sense an irresistible calamity approaching us, she said. Anna asked, I heard that cultivators all have spirit sense. Is this your spirit sense? That's right, Ning Yuechan confirmed it. I can almost see parts of my own death. We can't keep going like this. We need to think of something. Su Cher thought for a bit, then began to draw cards from the void of space. She drew a total of 12 cards at once, picked out the summoning cards, and threw them all into the void of space behind her. The cards disappeared in the wind and turned into bloodsea heroic spirits that blocked their path. Su Cher's hands continued to move, drawing cards and releasing summoning cards again. In just a few moments, she had used up almost all of her soul points. I hope this will buy us some time, Su Cher sighed. Let me take a look. Ning Yuechan closed her eyes and said. She stayed silent for a few moments, then sighed. We can't. The path of death is unbreakable. Something terrifying is getting closer and closer to us. Both Su Cher and Anna were a bit dejected. In truth, they could also sense something. After all, some sort of indescribably great power was slowly growing stronger within the space vortex behind them. It was a vast power that far surpassed their strength, something they couldn't possibly resist. There's no other way, Anna said. She stood up and walked to the back of the giant card. Endless black flames were burning on her body. Her crimson hair was fluttering in the wind. Anna, what are you trying to do? Su Cher asked. Anna calmly replied. I can already sense its presence. We can't win against it. If this goes on, everyone will die. I might as well burn my life to stop it. Su Cher couldn't help but shed tears. No, you can't give up. We're about to enter the mystic zones. She exerted the last of her soul points, raised her hand, and scattered all the cards into the void of space behind the ship. It's useless. You and Ning Yuechan need to deliver the Demon King order to Gu Shan. This is related to his life and everything else, so nothing can happen to you. Anna displayed a resolute smile. And I don't have an order on me. Only I can stop the enemy. Ning Yuechan's expression changed. She tapped her inventory bag to take out a bottle of pills and gave it to Anna. This is a type of pill that overdraws your strength. It can help you. Thank you. Anna received the bottle without hesitation. Ning Yuechan replied, I should be the one thanking you. I'm not actually afraid of death, but I have something I need to do, so I owe you this time, Anna said. Then I'll... Her voice was cut off. Little Anna, a low voice called out. Black flames filled the void of space. These flames fell onto the giant card and turned into a black dog. "Sir Dog Deity, why are you here?" Anna froze briefly before abruptly calling out. Black Dog slowly walked in front of her and smiled. "How could I not be here? I've always been drinking from you, and now that you're about to die, I naturally have to help you," Anna hesitantly said. "But even with your strength, you wouldn't be able to win against that. No, the situation isn't as simple as you think." Black Dog cut her off with a serious expression. "From the distant past until now, this world has finally entered a decisive battle between order and chaos. Everything will be heading towards destruction, but you carry the inheritance of the old god, of death. I can't let you fall into eternal darkness too soon." Anna was surprised. God of death. According to what I know, the 7 holy churches were only the servants of a certain mysterious god's will, nothing more. But now, it seems like these demigods also had some sort of hidden mission. At this point, another cluster of black flames manifested on the giant card and turned into a large black crow. "Anna, hurry, get on my back with the wielder of order. I'll carry you away," Black Crow said. "Sir Black Crow, you're here as well," Anna blankly exclaimed. Both of them were demigods of the Holy Church of Death who had existed for countless eras and had always loyally served the Holy Church. Regardless of which god was in charge of the strife zones, they had always been the same, silently doing their job without ever stepping out to resist anything. The Black Crow of Death coiled the 3 girls on its back and said, "My speed is a bit slower than the abyssal behemoth, but with Hound Deity helping us stall for a bit, I should be able to bring you all to the Bramblebird Kingdom." "But, Hound Deity," Anna said, "don't worry about me. I've accumulated the power of death for countless eras. Just stall for a bit, and we'll leave," Black Dog said. He leapt up, left the giant card, and turned into a giant monster that blotted out the sky. He had the head of a dog and the body of a human, exuding an endless sense of solemnity while wielding a black scepter full of mysterious runes. "Go. First help the Order survive, then you will receive your own mission. At the end of the apocalypse, the god of death shall awaken." Black Dog's voice resounded in Anna's ears. Anna didn't have time to say anything else. The Black Crow had already spread its wings that were several dozen meters long and took to the sky. Its speed was countless times faster than the giant card. Like a bolt of black lightning, it flew through the thick fog of the void towards the depths of the mystic zones. Chapter 10:30. The void of space outside the great bramble tree. The abyssal magic dragon silently appeared. He silently stared at the great tree that seemed to connect heaven and earth and fell into thought. The great bramble tree isn't weak at all. This is where its main body is, so if I act now, I'll definitely face a huge battle. A bit troublesome. It would have been better if we weren't in its territory, since Queen of Thorns would need a bit of time to summon the tree. When she summons the tree, only a faint image of the tree would appear at first. Queen of Thorns would have to continuously use her power to summon the tree for the tree's main body to appear. With that bit of time, I have plenty of ways to prevent Queen of Thorns from summoning the tree's main body. Then, it's best to think of a way to lure Queen of Thorns out. What kind of method should I use? Magic Dragon thought for a bit, then asked behind him, "You're all here?" Behind him, divinities appeared one after another. There was a burning flame in between their eyebrows that gave off a divine aura. But in front of Magic Dragon, they were nothing but subordinates. "Master, we're all here. What do you think we should do?" one of the divinities asked. "You're all true divinities, so you'll have to take care of this," Magic Dragon said while thinking. "I remember that the Queen is going to confer the title of a count later. All of you will be present. Remember, don't fight. Just invite her to the strife zones and tell her that the true God wants to see her. She probably wouldn't dare to refuse such a thing. What if she refuses? You're all top-level forces of the 900 million world layers. Think of a way to make her understand a certain truth. Refusing means war between the 7 holy churches and the Bramblebird Kingdom. Understood?" Magic Dragon encouraged them. "Don't worry. As soon as she leaves the tree's main body, I won't be afraid of anything. I'll directly capture her. Understood?" "Master, wait a minute. The demon dragon pondered for a bit more, then said, "The bramble bird empress might have a body. Double, you need to confirm that her true body has appeared before you can invite her to the strife zones to meet the true deity. Master, how should we determine if the queen is real or fake?" the divine race asked. The abyss magic dragon narrowed his eyes and said slowly, "The real queen of thorns has the following abilities that no one can imitate." Magic dragon patiently explained everything to the divine race. The divine race discussed with each other and came up with a strategy. Then, they left one by one and flew towards the great bramble tree. The abyssal magic dragon disappeared into the void of space and silently thought for a while. Yes, there won't be any problems. Magic dragon disappeared into the void, patiently waiting for the appointment ceremony to begin. The other side, the Bramblebird Kingdom, Imperial Palace. Guqin Shan held Lola's hair and was about to activate the mystery of all beings equal when she suddenly stopped. Wait a minute. He seemed to have overlooked a problem. Lola was a little girl. If he became her, wouldn't he become a woman? Moreover, she would become Lola's original appearance, without the slightest difference. No matter what, changing genders is still a bit awkward. Guqin Shan went silent for a bit, then called out, "Shanu." The void of space shifted. A beautiful lady with a cold and aloof face descended. "Gongzi, I'm here." She then bowed to everyone as a greeting. Everyone was also very polite. Everyone knew that this sword spirit came from Huang Quan, not to be trifled with. Guqin Shan put the hair in Shanu's hand and said, "Turn into Lola's appearance." Yes, Shanu received the hair, closed her eyes, and silently activated the mystery of all beings equal. Shanu herself had the lawbreaker ability to block all spying techniques. The last time he went to the giant corpse, the mystery of all beings equal had also finished its evolution. This way, no one would be able to tell that Shanu was a fake. Shanu slowly turned into Lola's appearance. Her voice also became childish. "Gongzi, I still have a small problem. What is it?" Guqin Shan asked. "I've never been an empress before, so I'm afraid that there might be some flaws in my actions," Shanu said worriedly. Guqin Shan smiled and encouraged her. "You've seen Lola quite a few times, so you should know how she acts and acts very well. Now, you only need to use the other ability I learned. What is it?" Acting, Guqin Shan looked at Zhang Young-ho and thanked him from the bottom of her heart. "Thank you for letting me go to acting classes. You've helped me a lot," Zhang Young-ho naturally replied. "Acting is a basic skill of a hitman. A top-notch hitman can disguise as anyone. This is an art form. All right, let's first deal with Lola's crisis before we talk about acting," Guqin Shan said. At this point, Lola had already circled around Shanu a few times and happily said, "Wow, you really do look like me, but your clothes aren't suitable. Come with me. I'll find you something suitable for the ceremony." She then pulled Shanu out. Not too long after, two Lolas appeared in front of everyone. They were wearing the same royal garb, the same jewelry. Their appearances were exactly the same, not even the slightest difference between their eyebrows. The only thing that could tell them apart was their expressions. One was cold and distant, the other lively and cute. Guqin Shan observed the two Lolas and silently thought, "That's about it. There's only one problem left. If I were in their shoes, if I wanted to assassinate a leader, I would first confirm whether the leader was the real one or a substitute to avoid falling into a trap. Three of Lola's abilities. It's not like there aren't any solutions." Guqin Shan thought for a bit and explained it to Shanu in detail. Everyone listened quietly to the end of the story. Finally, Guqin Shan said, "Yi Fei Li, when the Empress announces the conferment, you will appear. At that time, Zhang Young-ho and I will disguise ourselves as your guards." "Got it," Yi Fei Li replied. "No problem," Zhang Young-ho also agreed. Guqin Shan then asked, "Lola, Zhang Young-ho and I are still wanted. Do you have any attire that can hide our faces?" Lola nodded. "We do. I'll give you 2 sets of Old Tree Secret Cave Guardian armor. These are the soldiers that will wear armor during the ceremony. They have a special mask to hide their faces." Guqin Shan then said, "Lin, you'll hide in the shadows and be in charge of protecting Lola. If an enemy really shows up, Pick the strongest one and kill him. Lola immediately leaned on Lin and begged pitifully. Big sis, you have to help me. Lin stroked Lola's head and softly told her, don't worry. I like to see who dares to bully Lola. At another location, the border between the strife zones and the mystic zones, an endless gray shadow was approaching from afar, almost like a vast nebula. An abyssal behemoth. With a single movement, it was able to travel through countless worlds from one world layer to another. This abyssal behemoth was traveling as fast as it could. Even Hound's gigantic body seemed tiny in front of this behemoth. But Hound wasn't afraid at all. He raised his scepter at the behemoth and quickly chanted an obscure incantation. When the abyssal behemoth arrived in front of him, he roared in a low voice, I am a servant that carries the will of the god of death. As long as I am here, no entity shall pass through. The entire space vortex began to tremble. The never-ending wind of the void avoided this place. Images of countless worlds manifested, constantly twisting and warping, as if unable to endure some sort of abrupt power. The abyssal behemoth couldn't help but stop and fearfully retreat. A figure leapt down from the abyssal behemoth's back. God of Death, the female voice asked. That is a title that has long been buried in the dust, the male voice replied. An old title that has long been erased in the eternal annals of history. Yet its servant is still bragging about it, the female voice replied. The male and female voices both chanted in unison. Whether it's knowledge or sacred spirits, or even life and death, these deities have long since perished. How dare you use their power to stop chaos? Your soul shall be devoured by me. All was quiet. All of a sudden, a sharp shriek resounded across the entire void. The soul shrieker had unleashed all of its power, drawing the souls of all living beings within the infinite void towards it. Black Dog remained completely unmoved and simply held the scepter in front of himself. Under the soul shrieker's endless roars, the scepter of death abruptly gave off a blinding light that enveloped Black Dog. Your first attack was your strongest, monster from the abyss. You seem to be very afraid, Black Dog grinned, revealing his sharp teeth. Chapter 1031. Two bramble bird guards came in at the same time to report. Lola stood up from her seat. The conferring ceremony was about to begin. Billions of worlds were waiting to see it. This was the first time in the history of the Bramble Bird Kingdom that they had conferred a title to an outsider, so it held great significance. Everyone stood up. All right, let's proceed according to plan. Gu Qing Shan clapped her hands. At this moment, he was filled with motivation. Finally, with so many comrades, I don't need to struggle alone anymore. Yifei Li took out a few cans and gave them to everyone. These were cans that were made according to each individual strength, specifically used to replenish stamina and energy. Gu Qing Shan asked for a blood can, a spirit energy can, and a soul energy can. Lola explained the layout of the palace to Lin and told her to choose a suitable place to hide. Zhang Youngho reached his hand out to draw a card from the void of space. His hitman deck was already halfway done. Although he was a bit weaker in battle, as an hitman he had more skills and techniques, not to mention he had the assault pistol to help him. Shanna maintained Lola's appearance and began to communicate with something in the void of space. Everyone could hear the occasional woo-woo sounds coming from the void of space. Gu Qing Shan stood next to the window, releasing his inner sight to observe the ceremony outside. His spiritual will scanned through each of them. A few cultivators sensed his inner sight, but when they found out that it came from the palace, they remained silent. During such a grand ceremony, it was normal for the royal family to conduct a security check. There was no need to overreact. When everyone was almost ready, Gu Qing Shan looked at everyone. You may begin. Hearing that, the Bramblebird General Ilya immediately left. Lola brought Lin to hide. Gu Qing Shan, Zhang Youngho, Yifei Li, and Shanu silently waited. A few moments later, the sound of a cannon salute could be heard from outside. The solemn and sacred music began to play. Ilya's voice could be heard. Dear friends who are attending this ceremony, today is the Bramble Bird Kingdom, That's why we have a count. Now, let's welcome our honorable queen." The ceremonial music erupted. Lola took a glance at Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan gave her an encouraging look. Lola took a deep breath and took a step forward. In an instant, her entire temperament changed. She was dignified and elegant, solemn and unapproachable. At this moment, she was the real Queen of Thorns. She will confer the title of Duke of Thorn to a human male during the ceremony. Lola slowly walked out of the room. After a while, "Your Majesty, Your Majesty, Your Majesty." Cheers rose and fell one after another. Lola walked up to the podium. Facing the countless spectators below, she calmly began to narrate. "I, the Queen of the Bramble Bird Kingdom, Lola, hereby announce to the billions of worlds that we shall welcome our very first outsider Duke. We have made this decision because the apocalypse is approaching, and we desire to unite with all brave people, for our country, our loved ones, our children, to fight against the apocalypse, to do everything we can to win against it." Gu Qingshan silently listened to Shanu's declaration from inside the room and praised, "Very well done." After a while, the Empress was about to finish her speech. But the Bramblebirds were a race that placed a lot of emphasis on etiquette. There were a lot of procedures involved in the entire ceremony. So after the Empress finished her speech, the dozens of complicated and detailed etiquette procedures had to be carried out one by one. Fortunately, Shanu was smart to begin with, and with the detailed explanation she gave beforehand, everything went smoothly. The wait was a bit long. Jang Young-ho lit a cigarette and silently smoked. Yi Fei-li took out a video game console, turned it on, turned it on, turned it off, and began to battle. "You're still thinking about playing games at a time like this?" Jang Young-ho asked in surprise. "Aren't you also smoking?" Yi Fei-li asked in return without looking up. "I'm just relaxing a bit before the big battle." Me too. A few moments later. On the podium, all the preparatory ceremonies were about to end. Yi Fei-li was about to go on stage. Gu Qingshan and Jang Young-ho had already changed into the old tree's secret guardian armor, so they were wearing it to cover their faces. "Let's go." Yi Fei-li at the front, Jang Young-ho, and I at the back, Gu Qingshan said. "Got it. Let's go." The music began to play. Yi Fei-li pushed open the door and walked along the hallway to the venue of the ceremony. He walked up the podium step by step. Gu Qingshan and Jang Young-ho were fully armored, standing guard on both sides of him. Lola seemed to be a bit bored from waiting, so she reached her hand into the void of space. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, she took something out. It was a gourd-shaped jade pendant. Adorable originally had the spotless jade ability to conceal itself from living beings, so when Shanu touched it, it purposefully showed itself. Because of that, from the perspective of others, it looked like Lola was using her wandering treasure collector ability. At this point, Yi Fei-li had already walked in front of Lola and knelt down on one knee. "Yi Fei-li, I now represent the Bramble Bird Royal family to confer upon you the title of Duke of the Kingdom. Do you have any objections?" "No, I'm very honored." "Very well." Saying so, Lola waved her hand. A green leaf manifested from the void of space and fluttered in front of Yi Fei-li. The green leaf unfolded, manifesting a duke's scepter, medal, crown, insignia, and clothing on Yi Fei-li's body. This was another famous ability of the Empress. Empress Blessing. This time, it wasn't a fake one, but a true Empress Blessing. Only, the one who used it was the jade pendant adorable. It was using that ability, 100 lanterns. But no one had ever seen such an ability before, nor had anyone ever heard of an ability that could be stolen. In the eyes of everyone here, the one who used this ability was undoubtedly the Empress herself. Lola drew a rapier, placed it on each of Yi Fei-li's shoulders, and lightly chanted the words of conferment. The ceremony was about to be completed, and Yi Fei-li was about to become an official Duke of the Bramblebird Kingdom. The crowd cheered and clapped. Another round of cannon fire. Music began to play. Everything was normal. But right after that, the situation suddenly changed. The sun was obscured. The sky darkened. Dozens of bright figures descended from the sky. "Who dares invade our Bramblebird Kingdom?" Shanu sternly shouted. Queen of Thorns, you've misunderstood, a divinity replied. His body was enveloped in layers of holy light, almost as if a divinity himself had descended. 1, 2, 3, for a total of 16 divinities. They exuded boundless power and presence. The presence of a Paragon Realm cultivator caused everyone to be shocked. What a terrifying and powerful force this was. Seeing this, Gu Qingshan felt a bit embarrassed. Several 10,000 years ago, these were all soul artifacts that he created. However, the battle at the time was too dangerous. So many things couldn't be done to perfection. In the end, everything that Gu Qingshan obtained from the bygone era was taken away by the Earth Creator to be dealt with. Unfortunately, the Earth Creator was already dead. These soul artifacts had already passed their expiration date, so they had begun to act according to their own will. In the sky, a solemn presence resounded in all directions. The divinity exuding holy light spoke. Queen Lola, the true God is waiting for you in the divine palace of the Strife Zones. The true God is waiting for me? Shanu froze. She had always been by Gu Qingshan's side, so she knew who the true God of the Strife Zones was. Even though she had prepared herself mentally, she didn't think that the mystery would be solved. The enemy turned out to be the abyssal magic dragon. Gu Qingshan's group of 3 were also silently communicating through inner sight. Gu Qingshan had taught them how to cultivate and even found suitable cultivation scriptures for them, so using inner sight wasn't an issue. They're all so powerful. Would they start a war right away? Zhang Yongho worriedly asked. They won't. The great bramble tree is here. They aren't a match for the great bramble tree. Gu Qingshan confirmed it. They have the advantage in numbers. What should we do? Yi Fei Li asked. Zhang Yongho replied. We definitely can't go with them. Gu Qingshan, hurry up and make a decision. He and Yi Fei Li waited for a while, but didn't get a response from Gu Qingshan. Gu Qingshan, Yi Fei Li doubtfully asked. Lola, who was hiding in a secret place, was also in a daze. Big sis, the enemy is a true god. What do we do now? Lola asked with a troubled expression. She had a feeling that she could roughly guess what the other party wanted to do. Lin didn't say anything, but her expression slowly turned serious. Although I've returned to my peak, the abyssal magic dragon is still the bygone era humanity's greatest soul artifact creation. Not to mention that it has transformed into an abyssal body. I don't have the confidence to win. Fortunately, the great bramble tree is here. With its help, I can at least not lose against the magic dragon. Lin silently sighed. Gu Qingshan's arrangements did successfully draw the enemy, but who could have thought that the enemy would be 16 Paragon Realm divinities, as well as the abyssal magic dragon? How regretful. I'm currently in a human body. If the Ring of Vows was in my hand, Lin's gaze slowly fell onto the armored guard next to Yi Fei Li. Now it's up to Gu Qingshan to deal with this. Wait a minute. Lin suddenly sat up straight and scowled. What's wrong with Gu Qingshan? Lola followed her gaze, only to see that Gu Qingshan's head was lowered, her entire body trembling uncontrollably. That's right. At this moment, Gu Qingshan sensed the opportunity. At first, it was only the faint moan of a female. The sound of the flute slowly faded away. All of a sudden, the beat of the drum. Dong, 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 dong. The sound of the horn resounded. Feeling the pain spreading all over her body, Gu Qingshan immediately understood. The situation was already out of control. The second stage of the living being's sacrificial dance was about to begin. Chapter 1032. The strings of the instrument were plucked. An extremely rhythmic melody resounded in her ears, as if it was tickling the most itchy part of her heart, making her want to dance along with it. Gu Qingshan's legs couldn't help but tremble along with the rhythm. The soft music abruptly stopped. The impact of a heavy bass abruptly resounded. I can't control it anymore. Gu Qingshan abruptly stood up and walked to the center of the stage. On the ceremonial stage, Gu Qingshan walked in between Lola and Yi Fei Li. As a guard, he abruptly stood up and interrupted the ceremony, causing everyone's gaze to fall onto him. The guests at the venue, the live stream viewers of the 900 million world layers, even Magic Dragon in outer space. Everyone couldn't help but have the same question in mind. What is this guard trying to do? Lola had already noticed that something wasn't right and understood the current situation after a bit of thought. It's over. Gongzi's dance is about to erupt at this moment. Shanu's heart felt empty, not knowing what to do. On the other hand, Gu Qingshan was uncontrollably snapping his fingers while listening attentively. He was listening to that person, the old man who taught him the living being sacrificial dance, the strongest human combatant of the bygone era. Hurry, prepare yourselves. The group dance is about to begin. The old man's solemn voice resounded in Gu Qingshan's ears. Gu Qingshan shouted in his mind like he was going crazy. This is the most crucial moment. Why didn't you tell me from the start? The old man replied. Let go of your ridiculous thoughts. I'm telling you right now, none of the trivial matters in front of you are as important as the living being sacrificial dance. But I'm going to accidentally hurt a lot of people here. Gu Qingshan replied. That won't happen. Hurry, this is your first time dancing. This group dance needs 2 more people. Hurry up and choose a person. It'll be troublesome if you're late, the old man hurriedly told her. Gu Qingshan could hear the urgency in his voice. Truthfully, Gu Qingshan also understood that this dance wasn't something that she could afford to offend. If even the strongest human combatant of the bygone era is in such a hurry, then I really can't afford to waste any more time. 2. How? Gu Qingshan hurriedly asked. Use your mind to choose. Stupid. All right. Without any hesitation, Gu Qingshan locked her thoughts on Zhang Yongho and Yi Fei Li. He had no choice. He could only rely on them now. Following his choice, the bald old man shouted loudly, Go! Hey! This seemed to be a signal. Gu Qingshan found that all of her armor had disappeared. He had changed into a luxurious black robe with golden edges and a white mask on his face. There were 3 black lines on the mask, making it look like a crying face. On the other hand, Yi Fei Li and Zhang Yongho had changed into black robes with red trimmings. They also wore white masks with 3 black slits forming a smiling face. Change clothes? Gu Qingshan gasped. Why does this feel like an unprecedented ritual? Bastard, what kind of ritual is this dance supposed to be? Speaking of which, is something special going to happen soon? On the other side, Zhang Yongho and Yi Fei Li weren't sitting around either. Yi Fei Li, what's going on? Is this your ability? Zhang Yongho shouted in a low voice. Saying so, he found that he couldn't help but shake his leg along with Gu Qingshan. Yi Fei Li was confused. That has nothing to do with me. I was the one who wanted to ask you. Saying so, he patted his butt. Once, and once again. Seeing each other's actions, the 2 of them were a bit surprised. They knew that the other party wouldn't do such a thing. Zhang Yongho couldn't help but want to take out his gun. At this point, even an assassin like him was panicking. This time, Gu Qingshan had no other choice but to send her voice to the 2 of them. This dance is meant to save my life. The 2 of you must perform this dance with me to ensure my survival. What? Zhang Yongho and Yi Fei Li exclaimed. At first, he thought that it was just a strange power, but who knew that Gu Qingshan's life was behind it? At this moment, the accompaniment of music was already ringing in their ears. Dong dong dong. Dong ji ke. Dong dong dong. Dong ji ke. The old man suddenly looked up to the sky and roared, Oh, oh. Following that, a strong and infectious electronic sound rushed in. The strong rhythm made the 3 of them nod along with the music. Their hair gradually stood on end. What's going on? Zhang Yongho nodded and asked solemnly. Long story short, this dance can dispel an evil power in my body. Halfway through her sentence, Gu Qingshan opened her arms and waved them like a bird flying in the air. Yi Fei Li did the same thing. Zhang Yongho also did the same. Gu Qingshan continued. Now, I need 2 people to dance for me in order to complete this evil-dispelling ritual, he added. Don't worry, you won't need to dance by yourselves this time. Your powers are still too weak. The mysterious law will control your bodies and make you perform the correct movements. Zhang Yongho and Yi Fei Li both made a flying pose while looking at each other. A person like Gu Qingshan wouldn't lie about such a serious matter. Then what else is there to say? Even if it's to save Gu Qingshan, I still have to dance this dance. Fortunately, I'm wearing a mask. This way, no one will see my true face. The entire 900 million world layers is watching, buddy. From now on, when I travel the world, as soon as I meet someone, I'll make them laugh like they're about to die before I even say a single word. That's a bit of courage, but it's not really a skill of my generation. I'm fine with it, Jang Young-ho said. I'm fine with it as well, Yi Fei Li also said. Gu Qingshan immediately said, "Let's begin." Shanu quickly announced that it's time for the conferring dance to liven things up for everyone. Ah, yes, Shanu hurriedly replied. She turned to all the guests below the stage, as well as the audience of the 900 million world layers. Now, please watch our Bramble Bird Race's conferring dance. Thunderous applause. So it was the Bramble Bird Race's conferring dance. The audience cheered, but silently sighed in their minds. Even the conferring ceremony had its own dance. How exquisite! In the sky, the divinities were also whispering to each other. Let's watch first, the leader of the divinities ordered. In a secret location of the royal palace, Lola helplessly made a praying gesture. Her expression was sincere as she confessed, "Father, forgive me. I've ruined the reputation of the Bramble Birds." On the stage, Lola quickly left the stage as if she was fleeing. There were only 3 people left on the stage. All of a sudden, including herself, everyone's ears were filled with the sound of electronic music. Gu Qingshan silently told them in her mind, "Let's begin." The bald old man shouted, 3, 2, 1, all at once. The intense and moving sound waves filled the entire venue. Gu Qingshan's group of 3 began to move their bodies to the beat. Their movements were swift and clean, and they coordinated with each other, gradually creating a series of afterimages. As soon as each afterimage appeared, they found their own spot on the stage and participated in the dance. More and more afterimages appeared. The bald old man counted and shouted again, "These are my energy shadows, specially created to help you complete the sacrificial dance. Continue. Give me a high difficulty one." Hearing that, the 3 people on the stage all performed a series of tap dance movements, then tilted their bodies to a certain angle. And then twist, 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 a brutal version of a belly dance. The 3 of them were sweating profusely as they danced with all their might. Finally, the final shadow appeared. 9 shadows, including Gu Qingshan's group of 3, a total of 12 dancers. This time, it had truly become a multi-person dance. Thump, 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 thump. The music slowly became frenzied. The dance became even more frenzied. The movements of the 12 dancers were filled with power and synchronized, giving off a sense of unity and unity. Then he danced a whole section. Gu Qingshan suddenly reached out with both hands and waved at everyone below the stage. Next to him, Jang Young-ho and Yi Fei Li also began to wave. The 9 shadows also waved. The moment has finally arrived, the bald old man sighed, then abruptly shouted with a hoarse voice, "The sacrificial dance of the living beings in the apocalypse 100 million years from now. I have nothing, but by virtue of this noble and holy sacrificial dance, I prostrate myself at your feet and beseech you, descend, he continued to shout like a madman, not even stopping to catch his breath. And then, something miraculous happened. Aside from the 12 dancers, the entire venue went silent. Everyone fell into a daze. At the venue, everyone in the 900 million world layers, everyone who saw this dance or heard this dance with their ears fell into a daze. The person closest to Gu Qingshan in the audience, he was the emperor of a certain interstellar empire. His eyes were blank as he spoke. "I want to establish a connection with the Bramble Bird Kingdom. This way, the sun of my empire will never set." The Lord-class combatant next to him also spoke. "Bless me. I will definitely convince the officials of the Bramble Bird Kingdom to allow me to pick a weapon from their treasury." The next one to speak was a dignified and elegant lady. "I want to get to know Lola and try to please her. It would be best if she could come on my world as a guest. That way I would have a chance to marry her to my son." No matter what methods I have to use, everyone began to state their wishes. Please remember this book's domain name. Mobile version. Chapter 1033. Everyone was expressing their wishes. I want to approach the human Duke and ask him what he did to be conferred the title of Duke of the Bramblebird Kingdom. I want more wealth. I really like the Bramblebird Kingdom. As soon as the ceremony is over, I'm going to stay here without leaving. I want to see Lola's true face at the venue of the ceremony. Countless guests began to express their wishes. Among the infinite worlds, those who heard the music or saw Gu Qingshan's group dancing also expressed their wishes. I don't want to go to work today. The apocalypse is coming. I want to go play some games. What kind of woman does this human Duke like? The apocalypse is too terrifying. Before the apocalypse, I want revenge, young lady. It really wasn't me last night. When will my book become popular? Does he love me or not? I really want to know the answer. Countless living beings express their wishes. Billions of worlds, countless living beings. At this moment, they all expressed their greatest wishes. Seeing this, Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask in a low voice, "What exactly is going on?" He, Yi Fei Li, and Zhang Yongho stood still, slowly tapping the beat. The dance had come to an end, so he now had the time to ask the reason. Very quickly, the bald old man's voice resounded in his mind. "Since you've successfully performed the second stage of the living being sacrificial dance, you are qualified to know a few things." Gu Qingshan immediately sensed something flickering between his eyebrows as something entered his thought sea. Countless pieces of information flowed in one after another, flashing through Gu Qingshan's mind without stopping. Magnificent, never-before-seen scenes began to manifest, showing the beginning of the bygone era. Within the silent darkness, countless blazing suns quickly flew forward. They passed through indescribable barriers, passed through incomprehensible desolation, and arrived at the space vortex from an extremely faraway place. Indeed, in the beginning, there were no worlds, only the space vortex. After flying for a certain point, these suns finally stopped. The light faded. Gu Qingshan finally saw the true face of the sun. These suns were all gigantic steel spaceships, each of which was as big as an abyssal behemoth, or even much bigger than an abyssal behemoth. In the command room of a spaceship, Gu Qingshan saw the bald old man. The strongest human of the bygone era was issuing an order to the entire fleet. "I order you to report the situation immediately." Yes. A series of reports rang out in the control room of the spaceship. Fleet losses have reached 79%. Crossing the parallel barrier completed. All flight fuel is basically depleted. According to the analysis of the final fluctuations coming from behind, we can confirm that our original world has been completely destroyed. Current environment. Unknown parallel world. The bald man listened attentively and asked, "Did we lose any of the species we stored?" "Sir, the loss rate is 793%. When the bald man heard this, his expression relaxed a little. "Fortunately, as long as the species remains, we can continue to reproduce. Everything is hope," he murmured. The image suddenly disappeared. Gu Qingshan regained his senses. He noticed that only a split second had passed. Everything around him seemed to be under some sort of spell. Time passed very slowly. Everyone fell into their own thoughts, unable to come out for the time being. Gu Qingshan wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. It couldn't be helped. What he saw just now was too shocking. "Do you understand now?" the bald old man asked. Gu Qingshan silently nodded and muttered. "So this place was an endless space vortex, and all life forms here originated from your homeland. A destroyed parallel world indeed. That is the answer," the bald old man replied. "Then there's a problem," Gu Qingshan asked. "Why didn't you escape to another parallel world and instead stayed in the space vortex?" The bald old man replied. "Our ship's energy has been depleted," Gu Qingshan continued. "I believe that with your abilities, you would definitely have a way to replenish the ship's energy," the bald old man replied. "It's not as simple as you think. This place is a vast void between parallel worlds. We've never been to another parallel world before, it was only because of the threat of destruction that we were forced to move. In truth, we don't know how to escape from this space vortex either. We don't have a way to go to another parallel world. Gu Qing Shan shook her head. But since you're here, logically speaking, there must also be a parallel world similar to this place. Can't you find even a single clue? Many of us have spent our entire lives studying space-time, only to discover even more truths that cause some of us to go insane. The greatness of space-time is truly unfathomable, the bald old man replied. Gu Qingshan immediately explained, You discovered the reality gate in the eternal abyss. You believed that place to be some sort of passage, so you left this place and went through that gate. Correct, the bald old man sighed. This void is too dangerous. Not only is there the eternal abyss, the space-time maze, the abyss of broken worlds, there are also countless other terrifying entities. We need to leave this place as soon as possible. What do the bygone era you're talking about have to do with this dance we're performing right now? Gu Qingshan asked. The bald old man's expression became extremely solemn. Gu Qingshan, do you believe in God? I believe it to be some sort of even more powerful entity, the bald old man chuckled. It was only right before my death that the real me decided to pass this dance down. It was the greatest discovery we've ever made in this space vortex. This dance is capable of awakening a certain power, an unparalleled power that none of us have ever come into contact with before, but no one has ever been able to perform it all the way to the final stage, including me. Don't you have 9 stages of the dance that you want to teach me? I can only lead you to the 2nd stage. From the 3rd onwards, you will need to be taught the corresponding dance, as will be the same for each subsequent stage. Gu Qingshan couldn't help but ask the question in her mind, Wait a minute, why did you do all of this? In the end, you are all life forms born from our world, our compatriots, so I have to leave something for you. The old man's voice carried a bit of warmth. I believe that a person who is willing to sacrifice himself to kill the magic dragon wouldn't be a particularly bad person. After all, even we wouldn't dare to do such a thing in our era. I understand, in other words. This dance doesn't exist to contain the power of the magic dragon. Gu Qingshan asked, Don't underestimate it. Restraining the power of the magic dragon is nothing but a small matter for it, the bald old man replied. He seemed to have something else to say, but quickly stopped. Look, it's coming, the bald old man shouted. Gu Qingshan hurriedly looked up. While he and the bald old man were looking forward to it, while everyone else was still in a daze, the scene of the ceremony began to change. All the divinities in the sky were gently lowered to the ground. An invisible entity manifested. Although he couldn't see it, Gu Qingshan could clearly sense this invisible entity. He felt like he was standing in front of an endless blazing light. All of a sudden, where the invisible entity was, a hoarse female voice slowly resounded. Sacrificial dance. How regretful. This little prayers is still far from enough. Hearing that, the bald old man panicked. He suddenly flew out from between Gu Qingshan's eyebrows, sincerely knelt down on one knee, and spoke. No matter what, please grant this sacrificial dance in front of you a tiny sliver of hope. He is only an ordinary living being. Without your guidance and protection, he would not be able to pass on the sacrificial dance. The bald old man knelt down. Silence filled the void of space. Ordinary, the hoarse female voice resounded again. From her tone, it seems like she didn't agree with that. Your understanding of him is too shallow, but the sacrificial dance does need to be passed on very well. After saying so, the female voice disappeared. Gu Qingshan could clearly sense that the invisible entity in the void of space had disappeared. Indeed, that entity had left. At the same time, lines of glowing text appeared on the war god. UI, frowny face, you've been granted the 3rd stage of the living being's sacrificial dance. Due to your unique identity, your 3rd stage of the sacrificial dance is different from others. You've obtained the sacrificial dance of the 4 pillars. The dance of the earth god has been passed on to you. Chapter 1034. When the mysterious being left the ceremony, while everyone was still in a momentary daze, lines of notifications appeared on the War God UI. Gu Qingshan didn't waste a single second. The twin swords heaven and earth abruptly appeared on both sides of him. They turned into two streaks of light and disappeared in a flash. The heavenly sword danced gracefully. The earth sword was as heavy as a mountain. The two swords were like flickering lights and passing shadows as they neared the bodies of the dozen or so gods. The heavenly sword was in front, releasing a sharp sword aura. In an instant, the nine Tai dream-jolting sword formations descended upon the bodies of the Protoss. As the storm of the sword array raged, the Earth sword arrived. It drew an arc in the air. This was the secret art fused with Earth's choice, Moonslash. Gu Qingshan suddenly frowned. Activating both Heaven's Choice and Earth's Choice at the same time was simply too terrifying. He silently circulated the sword art in his mind. Following his will, all the sword rays no longer spread out in all directions. Instead, they rose and chased after each other, all the way up into the sky. This was the first time Gu Qingshan had used her full strength after becoming a Paragon Realm cultivator. The divinities were still in a daze, unable to defend themselves in time. They were struck by the Heaven Sword's nine Tai sword arrays in an instant, as well as the all-destroying Earth Sword. There was no way they would be spared. On the interface in front of Gu Qingshan, a dozen lines of glowing words immediately appeared. Frowny face, you've killed the ancient solo soldier soul armament number 1. Expired. Obtained soul points, 150,000. You've killed the ancient solo soldier soul armament number 3. Expired. Obtained soul points, 110,000. You've killed the ancient solo soldier soul armament number 4. Expired. Obtained soul points, 160,000. Gu Qingshan heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he managed to earn some soul power before the other party woke up. If he hesitated any longer, he wouldn't be able to earn anything when Lin made her move. It would also expose Lin's existence. After reading through all the notifications, Gu Qingshan looked up at the sky. Now that he had an abundance of soul power, the Protoss were also killed. He did not know what the guy hiding behind the Protoss would do next. Tens of thousands of years had passed. How much of its brain had recovered now? Gu Qingshan waited for a few moments. The audience at the scene gradually came to their senses. What happened to me just now? What happened? I don't know. My mind was blank. I remember someone was dancing on the stage. Is the dance over? People whispered among themselves. The same thing was happening in every corner of the billions of worlds. The disguises on Gu Qingshan, Zhang Yongho, and Yi Fei Li also disappeared. They returned to their original state. Are you all right? Yi Fei Li asked in a low voice. How's your body? Zhang Yongho asked. Gu Qingshan felt warmth in her heart and smiled at the two of them. There won't be any problems in the short term. Thank you so much. I might need your help the next time I dance. What? You still want to dance? The two of them exclaimed in shock. Zhang Yongho recalled the time when he belly danced and was speechless. Yi Fei Li was also speechless. From the very beginning, I had thought it through and decided to come to the 900 million world layers to fight alongside Gu Qingshan. That decision was a bit too hasty. Let's not talk about that for now. The real enemy is coming. Gu Qingshan looked up at the sky. The two of them followed his gaze. A black dot appeared in the sky. This black dot descended from the sky like a meteor, landing at the scene of the ceremony. A pale white horn stuck to his head, twisting and extending backwards. His entire body was filled with a gloomy fog. Standing there, he looked like a hurricane about to strike. The abyssal magic dragon. He still came. How strange. How did a puny mortal like yourself survive until today? The abyssal magic dragon stared at Gu Qingshan and curiously asked, You remember me? Gu Qingshan smiled and replied, Of course, you carry a large amount of magic dragon's bloodline. Although it's obscure by something, it can't fool my senses. Magic dragon cracked his neck a bit, then continued, Let's put the matter of the Bramble Bird Kingdom aside for now. I have to kill you right now. After all, an existence like me should be unique in this world. Gu Qingshan didn't say anything. A green leaf hovered behind him and turned into a set of blazing armor. The Bramblebird Kingdom Armor. The Great Tree Mystic Guardian armor on Gu Qingshan's body was completely destroyed. A holy light replaced the armor and attached itself to Gu Qingshan's body. Magic Dragon narrowed his eyes as he watched this and spoke in a low voice. The Bramblebird Kingdom wants to protect this person? No one answered him. The nobles and dignitaries at the scene were completely stunned by what they saw. This person exuded a gloomy fog of defeat, his presence so powerful that it was unheard of. His power had surpassed the understanding of living beings in the 900 million world layers. As for the Bramblebird Kingdom, Dash Lola stood below the platform, coldly staring at Magic Dragon. She slowly walked up the platform and stood next to Gu Qingshan. Following her, Lin also appeared. She was wearing a set of golden full-body armor, a pair of fire elemental gauntlets on her hands as she nimbly landed on the platform. Your wounds. Magic Dragon looked at Lin and muttered in shock. I'm completely healed. Perhaps it's time for us to settle our debt, Lin said. While they were talking, Yifei Li stood next to Gu Qingshan. A pair of blood-red wings slowly spread behind his back. He was holding a long hook in his hand. This was a weapon used to hook a person's soul. The Forgetting River's soul flaying hook. Zhang Yongho took a step back, walked behind everyone, and drew a black handgun. As he was about to draw a card with his other hand, a few bright green leaves fluttered in front of him and turned into a black shoulder-mounted cannon. Catch this quickly, it's quite powerful, the black handgun hurriedly called out. Zhang Yinghao didn't draw any more cards and hurriedly caught the barrel. What is this? Zhang Yongho asked in a low voice. This is Brother Cannon. Do you understand Brother Cannon? It's the kind of cannon used to destroy worlds. The handgun replied. Zhang Yongho gasped and put the cannon on his shoulder. The abyssal magic dragon looked around at everyone and suddenly laughed. Ah ha ha ha, how amusing. Do you really think you can defeat me with just this bit of power? His tone became ferocious. At first, I was only afraid of trouble, but now, I've decided to kill all of you. A figure flashed by. Lin didn't waste any words and directly charged forward. Bam! The heavy sound of impact turned into a shockwave that almost blew everyone away. A flaming fist struck the abyssal magic dragon's chest. But Magic Dragon's expression didn't seem to show any pain at all. TSK. Without being able to use your abyssal form, your power is truly pitifully weak. Without even seeing the Magic Dragon move, Lin had already been sent flying. Rumble, rumble. A large part of the palace collapsed with her. The abyssal magic dragon spoke in disappointment. All right, the strongest of the ants has been dealt with. Do you want to die one by one? His gaze swept through Zhang Yongho and Yifei Li. Zhang Yongho's body froze. No, my attacks definitely won't hit it. Zhang Yongho silently thought. Yifei Li sensed the opponent's true strength. Damn it, this level of power. Yifei Li's body was soaked in cold sweat, unable to even move a muscle. A figure suddenly appeared from the ruins. Lin wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and said, The battle has only just begun. Step by step, she walked towards the abyssal magic dragon as her presence continued to rise. If I can't do it, who else here can stop him? No, I have to. Lin's gaze became focused as almost tangible power erupted from her body. She's going all out. Magic Dragon shook his head and asked in confusion. This place is clearly no longer the Earth Gemini star. You also know that I've regained all of my abyssal power, so why do you still want to die? Lin didn't answer. Her figure lightly moved and once again flew towards the abyssal magic dragon. This time, she struck with both her palm and fist. Magic Dragon became a bit more serious, put his hand up to block a few times, then lost interest. The difference in strength between them was too great. He was the most powerful soul artifact of the bygone-era humans. Combined with the protection of the abyssal power, his strength had greatly increased. Lin only had her martial arts cultivation left, so she wasn't a match for him at all. After a few exchanges, Magic Dragon abruptly reached his hand out and caught Lin's palm and fist. Lin struggled a few times, but couldn't escape from his grasp. Magic Dragon exuded killing intent and smirked. Those who have been abandoned by the abyss can only repay it with death. Dash before he finished his words. Magic Dragon suddenly noticed that the person he was holding had changed. For some reason, he was now holding the human male who had Magic Dragon's bloodline. Meanwhile, Lin appeared where the man was originally standing. What happened? As soon as Magic Dragon thought that, the man was already looking at him and smiled. It really wasn't easy to catch you, come. Let's have a good chat. It really wasn't easy. With my strength, it would be very difficult to grasp this chance. This was everyone's only chance of survival. As he spoke, the pattern of a golden coin appeared from the man's body, followed their hands, and entered Magic Dragon's body. Because Gu Shan was too weak, this coin had always been hidden inside his body, so it was very difficult to manifest. But Gu Shan was still able to utilize a bit of the power it contained. For example, Earth's prohibition. Absolute prohibition. Any target you strike will have all of their supernatural powers sealed away. Duration: 1 minute. This was one of the 3 powers of the Earth God. On the same level as True Luck and Shelter, it could only be used once every 30 days and was extremely precious. In this current situation, Gu Shan couldn't think about anything else. I have to use this ability right now. I heard that you've recently become a boss in the Strife Zones, so your words and actions are getting a bit out of hand. I've thought about it. Although it's hard to hear for your own good, I'll still give you a piece of advice. As Gu Shan slowly spoke, she activated her lightning thaumaturgy. Dream Jolt. Magic Dragon had lost all of his supernatural powers. His body was covered in blue lightning, so he couldn't move for now. Gu Shan sighed and continued. As we travel between worlds, sometimes it's best to be an honest person. That way, when someone tries to kill you, they'll consider your feelings and act as quickly as possible. He released one hand and drew a card from the void of space. Rare item, True Crimson Demon Spear. P.S. Fellow readers on Firework City, recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, 0 ads, and multiple reading modes. Dear readers, please pay attention to it. Chapter 1035. A spear that gave off a blinding red glow was held in Gu Shan's hand. Dream Jolt only lasted for 5 seconds. When Gu Shan acted, she was still talking. After she finished talking, she swung the True Crimson Demon Spear in her hand and cut the abyssal Magic Dragon to pieces. Only 2 seconds had passed. Magic Dragon's arms, legs, tail, body, and head were scattered all over the ceremonial platform. Lin reminded her, "That's not enough. He's too powerful." Gu Shan looked at her wounds and said, "I'll leave it to you for seconds." Humph. Lin rolled her eyes at Gu Shan and smirked. She truly understood what Gu Shan meant. However, recalling the past, I still felt a bit annoyed. Fine, he's just letting me vent my anger this time. 5 seconds. Dream Jolt ended. Lin's figure flashed and appeared next to Gu Shan. She struck the ground with her fist, sending all of Magic Dragon's body parts flying. Both kicks and punches. In the blink of an eye, Magic Dragon's arms, legs, tail, and body were all sent flying by Lin. This was Lin's full-powered attack, filled with rage. Magic Dragon's body parts were sent flying, breaking through the limits of this world and flying in different directions. Only Magic Dragon's head remained. As it was a true abyssal monster, it didn't die right away. Compared to Lin, who had gone through so much suffering, the abyssal Magic Dragon clearly hadn't suffered such a death. So I was a bit confused. How? Clearly. Why? Did I just lie on the ground? Magic Dragon felt stifled and couldn't understand. Lin stood in front of Gu Shan and said, "Although it only has a head left, it still contains the power of the abyssal. It won't die for a while, so it's best to be careful." That makes sense. Gu Shan nodded in agreement and transmitted her voice to Lola, who was hiding in the dark. "Is there anything like sealing power?" "Yes, I will give it to you right away." Lola lowered her head and rummaged through her bag while saying. Leaves glowing with emerald green light appeared out of thin air and danced around Gu Shan. The green leaves disappeared and turned into sealing treasures. A sealing treasure that could be kept close to Lola's body and taken out immediately was definitely not an ordinary treasure. Lola was also aware of the current situation, so she directly sent the most powerful batch of treasures to Gu Shan. Gu Shan took a closer look. He first took out 2 talismans, activated them with his spiritual energy, and threw them out. The 2 talismans landed on the sharp horns of the magic dragon, emitting a faint spiritual light. These were cultivation-type talismans, so Gu Shan only needed to scan through them with her inner sight to sense the overwhelming sealing power contained within. Next were 7 to 8 witch-type sealing talismans that were also thrown out by Gu Shan and landed on Magic Dragon's large face. Immediately, numerous strange and unusual patterns appeared on Magic Dragon's face. Next were many decorative sealing treasures. Normally speaking, sealing treasures were made to be small and exquisite so that they could be worn quickly. Gu Shan thought for a bit, then used her spirit energy to tie Magic Dragon's hair into knots and tied them to the various accessories. After that, there were too many accessories and Magic Dragon's hair was limited. There were enough to tie them. Lin spoke up. "That's enough. We've already used so many sealing treasures." Gu Shan shook her head. "It's best to be safe." He looked at Magic Dragon's long black beard. "Very well. This can be tied as well." The rest of the sealing accessories flew over and tied themselves to Magic Dragon's beard. Gu Shan looked up at the sky. There was only one sealing treasure left. This was the one with the strongest sealing power among all the sealing treasures. It gave off a bright green glow, as if it was woven from the leaves of the bramble great tree itself. Gu Shan tossed this green hat on a Magic Dragon's head. Gu Shan sighed in relief and asked, "It's done. Can you check if the power of this head has been sealed?" "Let me take a look." Lin observed Magic Dragon's head and silently sighed. "I was only worried that the situation might change, so I reminded him. I didn't think he would be so ruthless." The Mystic Dragon's face was painted with gaudy wizard patterns, and there were 2 pieces of paper, talismans, pasted on his horns. His hair and beard were tied with all kinds of small ornaments, and he even wore a hat woven with green leaves on his head. Even a powerful abyssal monster would be limited in the number of secret techniques they could use when they only had a single head left. And right now, Magic Dragon's head was covered in numerous sealing treasures, so he wouldn't be able to unleash any power at all. He had clearly grown into a terrifying monster that could sweep through the 900 million world layers. So how did he end up like this? Lin shook her head and said, "He probably doesn't have any more power to use." "That's good to hear." Gu Shan sighed in relief and walked forward. This time, Lin didn't stop him. Gu Shan crouched down, grabbed the horn on Magic Dragon's head, and lifted it up to face her. "I'm sorry, I didn't really want to kill you," Gu Shan said apologetically. Magic Dragon's head was covered in treasures and a green hat, staring straight at him. If looks could kill, Gu Shan would already be dead without a complete corpse. Gu Shan cleared her throat and continued, "It's because you're so powerful that I'm in awe of you, but I don't know you that well, so I'm a bit afraid, so I can only take a few measures to protect myself." Magic Dragon still didn't say anything. Gu Shan said, "To tell the truth, I actually wanted to discuss a business deal with you." All was quiet. Everyone's mind was in turmoil, not knowing what to say. "You've already turned him into this, and you still want to discuss business with him?" The onlookers thought at the same time. Zhang Young-ho and Yi Fei-li silently exchanged glances. It was a familiar formula, but Lola didn't think that way. She clasped her hand over her chest, her eyes filled with reminiscence. For some reason, she recalled what happened in Tree's Collection World, on the peak of the old god's ice mountain, when Gu Shan made countless demonized people voluntarily remove their order. Hearing Gu Shan's words, Lin couldn't help but roll her eyes. She noticed that it had been a very, very long time since she made such an expression. Sure enough, hearing Gu Shan's words, even Magic Dragon himself couldn't help himself. "You want to do business with me?" "What do you mean?" he asked. Gu Shan replied, "I want to ask you about a certain person's whereabouts, or perhaps she's in your hands right now." Magic Dragon's expression turned grim as he spoke word by word. Regardless of who that person is, I will never tell you, Gu Shan sincerely told him. If you still want to exist, then tell me, Magic Dragon laughed. Do you know what kind of entity you're threatening? Its laughter was so loud that the jewelry on its head kept shaking, making a tinkling sound. The two talismans stuck to the dragon's horns were like antennae that fluttered in the wind. The green leaf hat on top of his head trembled as he laughed, almost falling off. Lin scowled. Although it's not a good thing to say, this dragon's appearance is so terrible that it's a disgrace to the eternal abyss. Gu Shan considerately helped the demon dragon put his hat back on and spoke with a gentle voice. I understand what you're trying to say. As a head, you can fall asleep at any time, so we need to sincerely discuss this matter. What a joke, discussing business with someone like you. Do you really think I'm an idiot? Magic Dragon mocked. I advise you to think about it a bit more. Gu Shan's tone softened. There are too many dangers in traveling the infinite worlds. You've probably been a deity for too long that no one has ever helped you realize this. However, since you've met me by fate, I'm willing to help you get to know this world again. What can you do? An ant that can't even control its own life, and death dares to threaten me? Magic Dragon mocked. Gu Shan slowly continued. Now, let's take a guess. If I throw this fork-horn head of yours near the reality gate, what would happen next? Magic Dragon's heart suddenly sank. An eternal monster is undying and can resurrect after falling asleep. But there's one exception. Near the reality gate, the immeasurably powerful parallel world was engaged in a desperate struggle against its apocalypse. The battle between the parallel world and the apocalypse has caused the fate corrosion to continuously spread. This was the most terrifying thing of all, as it directly affects the fate of an individual. The only outcome for an individual to encounter it is complete destruction. How laughable! Someone like you really dares to go to the reality gate. The demon dragon said disdainfully. I really do. Gu Shan sincerely nodded. You'll definitely die. I will die, but I guarantee that this head of yours will completely disappear first. You don't even know how to go to the reality gate. This is also a secret within the abyss. The one standing next to me is Lin. Can you guess why we form an alliance? That place isn't a joke. Just the two of you. We'll really go there, I guarantee. One man and one dragon head stared at each other for a bit. Magic Dragon suddenly recalled something. That's right. For countless years, everything that Lin did was to go through the reality gate. This was her obsession, which means they really will go there. Chapter 1036. When Magic Dragon entered the Bramblebird Kingdom. At another location, the border between the Strife Zones and the Mystic Zones, the Soul Shrieker was stopped by Black Dog. The long shrieking sound slowly faded away. Within the smoke, all living beings in the area had their souls sucked away, their corpses carried away by the wind of the space vortex. Black Dog stood still with the scepter of death in his hand, completely unharmed. That's impossible. The Soul Shrieker stared at the scepter in Black Dog's hand and displayed a look of disbelief for the first time. That era has already ended. The so-called gods have already disappeared without a trace. You are nothing but a speck of dust left behind by time. How could you still wield the power of death? This statement sounded like it was venting, but also like a question. Black Dog stood still and displayed a mysterious smile. Pitiful abyssal monster, you know nothing of the past, and your understanding of power is too shallow, Black Dog loudly declared while silently concentrating his will on the scepter of death. As he silently checked the scepter, his heart slowly sank. There isn't much power of death left on the scepter, and the battle had only just begun. The eternal abyss monster, the Soul Shrieker, was a powerful enemy. It wielded the power of the abyss, as well as the envoy of chaos, capable of commanding both the power of chaos and abyss at the same time. To stop its shrieking, Black Dog couldn't help but use the power of death that had been stored on the scepter for countless years. Indeed, ever since the gods had left, it had been extremely difficult to obtain the power of death in the following eras. The power of death on the scepter of death was something that Black Dog had painstakingly accumulated bit by bit. I don't believe it. The era of the gods had already ended. The Soul Shrieker roared. Behind it, endless gray fog rolled and rolled, slowly blotting out the sky. A voice resounded from within the gray fog. "Venerable envoy, I've followed your summons and came here as soon as it said so." Another voice resounded from within the gray fog. "In accordance with our agreement, I have answered the envoy's summons and came to fight for us." The voices didn't stop, as if more and more people were appearing from within the gray fog. "I've come, how interesting. Lord Emissary actually asked me to appear in advance. Since I've been summoned, no matter what kind of existence it is, I'll kill it. The battle hasn't started yet?" The gray mist gradually dissipated. Several dozen people appeared behind the Soul Shrieker. "I know you, the Death Retribution Hound of the Shrine of Death. You originally didn't have such great power, and you couldn't have fought against me when I had complete chaos." The Soul Shrieker continued. "Come, since you have inherited the will of the Death God, let me see how long you can fight against the holders of chaos." It made a gesture. Over a dozen carriers of chaos went past it and charged towards Black Dog. Black Dog groaned inwardly, his expression becoming more and more serious. These people all had their own unique chaos interface, and their strength had long surpassed that of an overlord. With just their own strength, they would fall into a difficult battle. If that was the case, the Soul Shrieker would immediately notice. "No." Black Dog raised a staff of death and chanted loudly. "Everything has a beginning and an end. Come from the dust. Rest in the dust. Only souls can surpass everything and enter the secret holy land of death." Its voice abruptly became louder. "Souls, I am your master." Rays of dark light erupted from the staff of death and illuminated the carriers of chaos. The holders of chaos who were running were falling one after another. One after another, illusory figures floated up from their bodies and were pulled into the air by the dark radiance. The faint figures struggled with all their might, screaming soundlessly and doing everything they could to return to their bodies. "Souls, return to slumber." Black Dog chanted the final line of his incantation. "Oh, oh, oh." The staff of death let out a sorrowful cry. In the face of this death spell, all of the illusory figures' attacks became futile. They were all sucked into the staff of death. In just a single breath's worth of time, the technique ended. All the carriers of chaos collapsed on the ground, lifeless. Even though they each had their own unique chaos UI, they couldn't resist this technique at all. The Soul Shrieker's pupils dilated and exclaimed in shock, whispers of the god of death. It couldn't help but take a step back and observe Black Dog with a solemn gaze. This was a long-lost technique of the ancient deities, recorded in the Holy Church of Death's holy book, but for thousands of years, no one had ever managed to perform it. Because of that, the living beings of the infinite worlds knew that the god of death was no longer here. But why did he see the spell work again with his own eyes? After performing the technique, Black Dog stared at the Soul Shrieker again. "What else do you have? Show it all to me." Black Dog swung the staff of death and casually said. While the other party was stunned, Black Dog once again used his mind to communicate with the staff. After harvesting the souls of the carriers of chaos, all of the power of death on the staff had been used up. When Black Hound Cha saw this result, an uncontrollable fear rose in his heart. Without this staff, Black Dog wouldn't be able to go against the Soul Shrieker with his own strength. His soul would be directly devoured by the other party. Soul Shrieker, retreat. In the face of death, you cannot take a single step forward. Black Dog maintained a calm expression and spoke with a solemn tone. In front of him, the Soul Shrieker indeed didn't move. "Bastard, that's impossible," the Soul Shrieker muttered as its gaze fell on a Black Dog. "He's clearly only a servant deity. Why does he have such power? What other tricks does he have?" The Soul Shrieker clenched its fists tightly and silently evaluated the difference in strength between them. "Should I go up and test it?" While the Soul Shrieker was eager to try, it suddenly noticed a new situation. Wait a minute. This Black Dog, its tail, which was originally raised high, gradually drooped down and slowly fell down, sandwiched between its legs. What does that mean? Could it be that it's also making some sort of preparation and wants to attack while I'm at it? The Soul Shrieker was hesitant and temporarily gave up on the idea of attacking. At another location, Black Crow was leading Su Cher, Anna, and Ning Yuechan through the space vortex. Do your best, Sir Black Crow. Anna encouraged him. Don't worry, Anna. We'll reach the Bramble Bird Kingdom before the Soul Shrieker does, Black Crow replied. Anna's expression was a bit dejected as she muttered, I wonder how Sir Hound Deity is doing. Don't worry about him. He's been through a lot, so he's very reliable and won't get into trouble so easily, Black Crow replied. But he has a huge weakness, which is that I'm afraid of being seen through by the enemy, Anna said. Weakness? Black Crow was surprised. He can't hide his true emotions, Anna sighed. A pair of warm hands were on Anna's shoulders. Su Cher. Anna, don't worry. Even if the servant deity can't deal with him, he'll at least have a better chance of escaping than us, Su Cher consoled her. Anna nodded. The two of them then turned to another direction, only to see the female cultivator wearing a rainbow-colored dress standing alone in front of them, staring at the endless space vortex. Anna thought for a bit, then walked up and said, Thank you for saving us before. Ning Yuechan didn't turn around and casually replied, No need to keep it in mind, Su Cher replied. How could I not keep the gratitude of saving my life in mind? I'll give you a piece of advice. Speak, Su Cher pointed at Anna. How about you give the authority to awaken that order to my partner here? I'll accompany her to the Bramble Bird Kingdom. You don't need to return, because the Bramble Bird Kingdom will definitely become the battlefield of a great war. Ning Yuechan went silent for a bit, then spoke with a slightly warmer tone. Thank you for thinking for me, but I have to return. Why? Su Cher curiously asked. Ning Yuechan lowered her head and spoke with a soft but firm tone. There's someone I've been waiting for. This statement instantly changed the atmosphere between the three of them. For the girls, this statement contained too much gossip. Su Cher and Anna exchanged glances. Anna plucked up her courage and asked, May I ask if she's your Tao companion? Ning Yuechan turned around and smiled. It's not that far yet. Both Anna and Su Cher responded with a meaningful sound. This woman was a guard of the Bramble Bird Kingdom, so the person she loved was naturally a member of the Bramble Bird Kingdom as well. They might even be childhood sweethearts, or perhaps a male guard. How strange. The tense atmosphere of the Great War was washed away by this topic. It was clearly an extremely dangerous situation, but through this topic, the three girls were able to relax a bit and even get closer to one another. Anna pointed at Su Cher, then at herself, and said, She's called Su Cher, 17 years old. I'm Anna, 18 years old. How old are you? I'm a few years older, 22 years old this year, Ning Yuechan replied. I'll call you Big Sis. I really want to know what kind of man you're thinking about, Su Cher smiled and said. Why? Ning Yuechan asked. Your blade skills are too outstanding. Normal people wouldn't be able to reach this level. Not to mention, your appearance is so beautiful. Your personality so gentle and generous that even I feel like I'm falling in love with you. I really want to know what kind of person, such as yourself, would be interested in, Su Cher sincerely told her. You flatter me. Don't keep talking about me. What about you guys? Ning Yuechan was a bit embarrassed, so she smiled and avoided this question. Su Cher and Anna's eyes met, and helplessly said, We're a bit unlucky. Falling in love with the same man, Ning Yuechan had already noticed and asked, What kind of person is he? It's hard to say. Right, he's also a cultivator, Ning Yuechan became interested and asked further, What kind of Tao does he cultivate? You should know that according to the different Tao a cultivator cultivates, it's possible to roughly determine a person's personality and behavior, really. Anna also became interested. Yes, this has already been proven a long time ago, Ning Yuechan nodded. Su Cher found this interesting and cut in. It's fine if I tell you, if we're talking about cultivators, he's actually a sword cultivator. A sword cultivator? Ning Yuechan's slender eyebrows scowled, her expression a bit unsightly. Noticing the change in her expression, Su Cher and Anna asked at the same time, What's wrong with a sword cultivator? Ning Yuechan scoffed, then replied, Cultivators who use swords these days mostly walk the path of agility and cunning, which means that they're already a bit unsteady, Taking it one step further, it's actually very rare for a sword cultivator to be a true man. I've always felt that there aren't many good sword cultivators. Ning Yuechan appeared displeased and continued. And here I was wondering what was going on. He used some sort of trick to make both of you give up your sincerity at the same time, then forced both of you to go through so much hardship. I hate people like that. Anna and Sushare were both surprised. About that. It was actually our own. Well, Anna awkwardly waved her hand. Sushare sighed and also said, "That's right. He didn't do anything to us." It's a bit hard to explain, but in the end, we just ended up like this hearing them say that. Ning Yuechan felt even more displeased. She put her hand on her blade and casually said, "You don't need to explain for a man like him. When we reach the Bramble Bird Kingdom, I'll take a good look at him for you." An intense wave of blade chi emanated from her body. Sushare and Anna exchanged glances and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. That's right. Ning Yuechan saved them as soon as she showed up. Ning Yuechan was also worried that the two of them would run into some kind of scum, so she was worried for them. Anna could see this, and so could Sushare. So they could only keep their mouths shut, not knowing what else to say for Gu Qingshan. Chapter 10:37. How strange. The situation isn't right. As the soul shrieker observed the Bannacle-ending hound, it was doubtful. During the previous battle, this black dog's body was filled with the ancient and powerful power of death. But now, not a single strand of power of death could be sensed from Black Dog's body. What exactly is this guy thinking? Staring closely at him, the soul shrieker recalled the past of the 7 holy churches. After the change of eras and countless hardships, the 7 holy churches had already become empty shells, manipulated by entities from the abyss to control the entire strife zones. The remaining demigods of the holy churches never had any objections to this. In fact, for the sake of survival, they would choose to obey and cooperate. But now, at this very moment, the Bannacle-ending hound of the Holy Church of Death had awakened the power of the Death God. It managed to nullify 2 of its attacks in a row. The Soul Shrieker was becoming more and more cautious. "It seems you have become an enemy worthy of me, taking seriously," the Soul Shrieker's male voice spoke. Following that, its female voice shrieked, "Let us fight to the death. Let the eras decide whether their leader will be an ancient deity from the distant past, or the vast and boiling chaos." The Soul Shrieker stared closely at Black Dog as its presence slowly rose. It was preparing to fight to the death. However, the Soul Shrieker found it strange that as its presence rose, Black Dog's tail was clamped tighter and tighter. It seems it was also preparing for its final battle. The Soul Shrieker slowly displayed a cruel smile. "Very well, come, let's have a frenzied battle." Black Dog immediately noticed the change in its attitude. Black Dog smirked, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. "Very well, let me tell you, the power of a deity is not something you can fight against it prepared to attack." Recalling the 2 battles from before, the Soul Shrieker couldn't help but cautiously assume a defensive stance. Following that, as if feeling annoyed by its own reaction, the Soul Shrieker roared, "Death cannot stop my path, and neither can you." It quickly strode towards Black Dog. Seeing that, Black Dog suddenly shouted, "Wait!" The Soul Shrieker didn't understand what was happening and paused. Black Dog stared at it and said hatefully, "Despicable bastard, how dare you send people to destroy our temple during our final battle?" The Soul Shrieker was surprised. Black Dog angrily shouted, "Soul Shrieker, you're not a true warrior. You're trying to chase me away." After that, its body quickly shrank and turned into a black dog. Black Dog didn't stop and hurriedly headed towards the strife zones. Its speed was extremely fast, as if it was rushing with all its might. From the looks of it, it seemed to be in a hurry to save the temple. Several breaths of time later, Black Dog was far away. The Soul Shrieker stood still for a few moments. What was going on? I didn't send people to destroy the Shrine of Death. Just as it was about to give chase, it immediately stopped. Why would I chase it? Wouldn't it be a waste of my time to chase after him and fight him? What does what happens in the Death Shrine have to do with me? The soul shrieker slowly regained its senses. It turned around and looked towards the mystic zone's direction. Now, there was no one to stand in its way. We've wasted too much time. I need to hurry up, the soul shrieker muttered. Roar! Amidst the reverberations of the void, a shadow the size of a giant galaxy slowly approached it. The abyssal behemoth. Its speed was the fastest within the abyss, capable of traversing several worlds at once. The soul shrieker leapt onto the abyssal behemoth's back and quickly left this area of the space vortex. Black Dog was heading in the opposite direction. Only when he noticed that the soul shrieker wasn't chasing after him and instead sped up did he sigh in relief. This was too dangerous. It's fortunate that I wasn't eaten in the end. Fool, I still managed to escape with my life, Black Dog coldly said. His tail was raised high, happily swinging to both sides. For some reason, his tail suddenly stopped. Black Dog sighed and muttered, this is all I can do. I hope that Anna and the others will succeed. Let's rewind time a bit. The Bramblebird Kingdom, the Royal Palace. Inside a certain spacious room, a man opened his eyes and sat up on his bed. He paused briefly. My wounds have all been treated. It seems someone saved me at the very last moment. The man fell back down, using his hands as a pillow behind his head, and spoke with a troubled tone. For an existence like me to be saved by someone, how shameful. Should I kill this person who saved me? Or should I think of a way to repay him? How troublesome. The man muttered a few words, then slowly picked up a fragrant scent. He suddenly noticed that he was hungry. The man stood up, got off the bed, and looked around. The carpet was soft and luxurious. As soon as he stepped on it, he could feel the faint aura of life spreading from his feet to his limbs. On the opposite side of the bed, there was a long table made of pure gold. A sumptuous feast of steaming hot food was placed on top of it. At the corner of the table were 2 pairs of black-rimmed glasses, as well as a letter. The man walked over, took the letter, and read it. What was written on it was, "Your glasses are broken, so we made a new pair for you according to the same ratio. Although the material is a bit different, the effect is the same. I hope you don't mind. Your injuries are very serious. Please rest well. If you need anything, just ring the bell on the table, and a servant will come to listen to your orders." The man put the letter down and picked up a pair of black-rimmed glasses. This was his original pair. Not only were the lenses broken, but the frame was also twisted. When I saw someone wearing glasses, I thought they looked good, so I had Magic Dragon buy one for me. Who would have thought it would be broken so quickly? The man picked up the other pair of glasses. This was a perfect pair of glasses, light, sturdy, clear, automatic dust removal, and was also resistant to all 5 elements. Tisich, the man put on the black-rimmed glasses and sat down in front of the table. Looking at the table full of delicacies, the man felt even hungrier. Anyway, let's eat first. If the food is good, I won't kill you. After saying so, the man began to eat. At first, he ate very slowly, but not too long after, his eating speed was like a tornado sweeping through the clouds, quickly sweeping away every plate of food. Ah, how delicious. The energy contained in this crab is exactly what I need. So this is the legendary star, sea lobster? Last time, Magic Dragon actually said that we didn't have enough money to eat this. Really? Delicious, delicious. The man couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Don't be ridiculous. This is the richest country in the 900 million world layers. How could the food prepared by the ruler of this country possibly be bad? The man happily finished his meal, then tried drinking a type of bubbling black liquid. This black, bubbling liquid. Why does drinking it make me feel happy? The man smiled and put the glass down. He was very satisfied with this meal. The man thought for a bit, then took out a book from the void of space. After I fell unconscious, the man said. The book opened by itself. Page after page of vivid and lifelike drawings entered his eyes. The wooden arm grabbing him, the bramble great tree ship, the conversation between Guqing Shan, Lola, and Lin, as well as everything that happened afterwards were all displayed on the book. The man stared closely at Guqing Shan and recalled something. The book of prophesied destinies once told me to find this person. Who would have thought that we would meet again in the form of saving and being saved? He sighed emotionally. The book continued to flip. The man was engrossed in reading the situation on the page until he reached the last page. The last page depicted the scene of Gu Qing-shan's group leaving the room, about to step onto the ceremonial platform. In fact, when the man was reading this page, the ceremony in the palace had also reached this point. Gu Qing-shan and Zhang Yongho were disguised as guards, walking together with Yi Fei Li on the ceremonial platform. The man put the book away and rubbed his chin. I've lost too much of my power. The only thing left is the book of prophesied destinies. That world destroyer's drink should be able to directly heal my wounds, although I'll need to drink a lot. There's nothing better than this drink. How ironic. A world destroyer awakened a mystic-type ability specifically for helping others. Was it because of his own wish? The man muttered. All of a sudden, a dignified voice resounded from the sky outside. Empress Lola, the true god is waiting for you in the holy church of the strife zones. The divinities had arrived. The man sat there and thought for a bit, then slowly stood up. His figure flashed and disappeared from the room. Chapter 1038. When the ceremony began, the entire royal palace was heavily guarded. At the top of the royal palace, a certain hidden sentry post. The one in charge of this place was a Bramblebird guard. He was cautiously observing his surroundings. At this point, the divinity appeared in the sky. The guard couldn't help but look up. At this point, a man wearing black-rimmed glasses appeared behind him, looking up at the sky together with him. The man carefully observed the divinity's appearance with an intrigued expression. What a strange idea, borrowing the appearance of a divinity to create a soul artifact. Don't they know that this will cause the soul artifact to go out of control? Not to mention, it's so much weaker compared to a real divinity that it's basically a toy, the man commented in a low voice. While he was talking, the guard standing in front of him acted like he didn't hear him and kept looking up at the divinity in the sky. The divinity was talking to Lola. All of a sudden, a guard stood up from the platform of the ceremony, standing between Lola and Yi Fei Li. This scene attracted everyone's attention. The man wearing black-rimmed glasses also looked down, seriously observing the commotion below. He knew who this guard was, and that he had once saved his life. What are you trying to do in this place, in front of the 900 million world layers? The man wearing black-rimmed glasses asked in a low voice, and he wasn't disappointed. Gu Qing-shan brought Zhang Yongho and Yi Fei Li with her and began to dance. When the dance ended, everyone began to voice out their wishes. The man wearing black-rimmed glasses also couldn't help but say, I want to continue searching. All of a sudden, his eyes regained their clarity. What a strange dance. I don't think I've ever heard of such a dance before. The man wearing black-rimmed glasses thought and cautiously commented. He flipped open the book in his hand and muttered. Record following his words. A page of the book began to display the scene of the dance just now. All of a sudden, the book erupted in flames. The page that was recording the dance was burned to ash. The man wearing black-rimmed glasses froze. I can't record it, he doubtfully asked the book. The book was trembling, as if it was afraid of something. The man with the black-rimmed glasses slowly closed the book and put it away. I can even see the direction of fate, but I can't record this dance, he murmured, deep in thought. A dance that he did not even know. Even the Book of Destiny couldn't record it. Things were starting to get interesting. If the other party had only saved him, it would have been fine. However, given how mysterious the other party was, he had no choice but to stay and investigate the other party. Just as he was deep in thought, Gu Qing-shan rushed out from the ceremonial stage below and killed more than a dozen Protoss who were still in a daze. Then, Magic Dragon descended from the sky. Magic Dragon showed his might. Magic Dragon was dead. Magic Dragon only had one head left, and it was wearing the emerald hat used for sealing. Only then did the man with the black-rimmed glasses come back to his senses. Isn't that my pet? What is it doing here? He said in surprise. On the stage, Gu Shan was negotiating with Magic Dragon. There are too many people here. Let's find a quiet place and slowly talk, Gu Shan said. He carried the dragon's head into the royal palace and made some arrangements. Lola, stop the live broadcast and have all the guests leave. Activate the palace's defensive measures. Have all the guards and troops enter a combat-ready state. Stay alert for any possible situations. Got it, Lola replied. Lin, go and protect Lola. I'm worried that Magic Dragon might have an accomplice. It can't think of that much. Very well. It's better to be careful saying so. Lin went to find Lola. Zhang Young-ho, Yi Fei Li, come with me to the royal palace first. Got it. At this point, the Bramble Bird General Ilya appeared again and loudly announced the end of the ceremony. The Bramble Bird guards began to maintain order. Very quickly, the Bramble Bird army arrived at the scene. They were armed to the teeth and quickly went to maintain order. Ceremonial officials appeared one after another to lead the guests away from the scene of the ceremony. Even now, everyone was still confused. The divinities appeared. The divinities were completely wiped out. There was a blank period of time in between. What exactly happened? No one could remember what happened at the time. And then there was Magic Dragon's appearance and death. The greater the power he displayed, the greater the commotion caused by his death. The Bramble Bird Kingdom actually had enough power to deal with an enemy of that level. It turns out that other than the Bramble Bird Great Tree and its endless wealth, the Bramble Bird Kingdom's power was already this terrifying. The entire 900 million world layers was in an uproar. At this point, countless forces were reconsidering how they should face the Bramble Bird Kingdom. Today's ceremony was completely ruined, but what happened today was enough for everyone to slowly digest. The royal palace. Gu Shan put the dragon's head on the table and silently waited. Yi Fei Li gave Zhang Young-ho a can, then gave Gu Shan another can. No need. I already took one just now, Gu Shan told her. The one I gave you before was prepared for intense combat. It had a lot of energy to replenish, so it's a bit of a waste to use it right now. It's better to use the one in my hand to replenish your stamina, Yi Fei Li explained. Gu Shan received it, opened it, and slowly drank it. This thing's flavor was random and uncontrollable. However, Gu Shan's luck was quite good this time, as this kind of drink was strawberry-flavored. Zhang Young-ho's can had a much richer flavor. It was pork rib soup. Gu Shan took a few sips to replenish the stamina she expended from dancing and fighting. How miraculous! He couldn't help but ask. Fei Li, you took out so many drinks, wouldn't that cause some sort of negative effect on yourself? Yi Fei Li smiled and replied, this thing does indeed consume soul points to make, but that's fine. I obtain a lot of soul points from the Tower of Reality. You killed a lot of monsters? Zhang Young-ho asked. That tower was huge. I found a place in the tower where the monsters respawned really quickly. So I guarded that place for a few days until I reached the maximum amount of soul points this ability can hold before stopping, Yi Fei Li replied. A few moments later, Lola and Lin returned. It's all arranged. If anything happens, we'll be able to receive the news right away and choose to fight or run away, Lola said. Gu Shan nodded and looked at Magic Dragon. How is it? Have you thought it through? Gu Shan asked. Who do you want to know? Magic Dragon asked in return. Gu Shan replied. The Angel of Condemnation and her personal coin. I remember they should be in your hands, right? Magic Dragon thought for a bit and slowly understood. You're collecting the 3 coins? Traveling through time? So that's what you wanted to do, Magic Dragon said. Even if it wasn't for that, I still have to find Little Dusk. She's my companion, Gu Shan replied. Magic Dragon went silent for a bit, then said, I have a condition. If you agree to it, I'll tell you. What if I don't? Gu Shan asked. Then you'll never be able to find that Angel of Condemnation, Magic Dragon said. Tell me your condition first, Gu Shan said. Abyssal Magic Dragon replied. When you activate the 3 coins, I want to return to the past with you. Why would you go back? Gu Shan asked in surprise. Magic Dragon pondered. Ever since that battle several 10,000 years ago, I've always felt my mind being muddled and clear at times. I want to return to that time and investigate the root cause of all this. Gu Shan looked up and fell into thought. It seems the Earth Creator took advantage of the time when Magic Dragon was asleep to do something to Magic Dragon. No, Gu Qingshan refused. I won't bring you back to the past. Magic Dragon's expression turned grim and asked, "Why not?" "Because I don't want to return to the age of old, but a different time," Gu Qingshan replied. Magic Dragon thought for a bit, then said, "Then how about this? After you return, give me the coins when you return. I'll use them once." Gu Qingshan decided to be straightforward. "I still can't. I don't know what you'll do if you return to the past, so I can't let you go." Magic Dragon stared at her, asking word by word, "You won't give me anything?" Gu Qingshan shrugged and generously replied, "Besides this, you can ask for anything else. I'll consider it. I can see that you're in charge here, so I want to take Queen of Thorns away. No, I want the World Destroyer next to you. He's very valuable. No. Then I want your sword. Pick one of the twin swords, heaven and earth, for me." "No." Magic Dragon went silent, lowered his eyes, and ignored Gu Qingshan. "Hey, say something else. Maybe we'll reach an agreement?" Gu Qingshan tried to persuade him. Magic Dragon angrily roared, "Bastard! Not only will you kill me, you won't even give me anything. I'd rather die right now than tell you that answer." Gu Qingshan scowled. "Wait, let's talk my ass. You're such a miser. You really won't tell me? I'd rather die than tell you." While shouting, a voice resounded in Magic Dragon's ears. "Tell him." Hearing this incomparably familiar, nightmarish male voice, the demon dragon instantly froze. Even though he only had his head left, he could still feel the shadow in his heart that had slowly calmed down, once again surging. "Oh no, it's him, it's him, it's him. Master actually came, and even gave me an order from the shadows." "What does Master mean? What should I do?" Magic Dragon's thoughts quickly turned. As a member of the Abyss, would I dare to not listen to him? But why is he on Gu Qingshan's side? Master might be a bit unreliable at times, but he's never messed up at crucial moments. Which means Gu Qingshan is probably on the same side as Master. In other words, the mystic dragon slowly put on a fawning smile and said, "Gu Qingshan, I'm telling you, I was only joking with you just now. I was actually about to tell you the whereabouts of the Angel of Condemnation." Gu Qingshan, everyone else. Gu Qingshan glanced at Magic Dragon, then recalled that he still had some mental issues, so she couldn't help but feel a bit hesitant. "Mystic Dragon, you change your mind too quickly. I can't believe it." Gu Qingshan tried asking. A knock came from the door. A male voice came from the other side of the door. "I apologize for coming here so abruptly, but I still want to thank you in person for saving my life." Chapter 1039. Gu Qingshan released her inner sight to scan and knew who was standing at the door. Lin walked next to him and whispered, "It's that person. He seems to be quite strong." Both of them felt a trace of surprise. With their strength, they would be able to notice as soon as someone approached. But before this person spoke, neither of them knew. "Gu Qingshan," Lola called out and pointed at her arm. Gu Qingshan nodded. "Indeed, this is the person I saved with my wooden arm. It said that this is my mutual savior. Since I saved him, he will also save me in the future. I can't be careless. If possible, it's best to keep him. Please come in," Gu Qingshan said. The door was pushed open. A white-haired man wearing casual clothing with a gentle appearance appeared in front of everyone. "Who is this?" Zhang Yongho asked. Gu Qingshan shook her head and looked at the man. "May I ask how I should address you, sir?" The man revealed a smile and said, "My name is Boss." "Boss." Zhang Yongho couldn't help but call out. Isn't this name a bit too much? If that's really his name, then no matter who greets him, they'll have to call him Boss. Everyone thought about it. They didn't notice that Magic Dragon had already closed his eyes, silently regretting his decision. At the time, I really shouldn't have brought him to watch some gangster movie. "Ah, that's right, I'm Boss. Boss is me. Nice to meet you all," the Black Rim man said. "Hello, how's your recovery?" Gu Qingshan asked. "Actually, it's like this." The man cleared his throat and said, "A long time ago, I suffered a very serious injury. Then, in recent years, something suddenly happened, causing my injury to worsen. So, I had no choice but to come out and find a way to recover." But as you know, not long ago, I was involved in a duel of life and death. My injuries were even more severe, and I almost died. Fortunately, you saved me. In fact, I was already a little discouraged, and dying is a relief. I can barely move now. It's impossible for my body to recover for the time being. Hearing this, everyone fell into deep thought again. This person called Boss had a really bad experience. That, are you called Boss? Don't you have another name? Gu Qing probed. The man revealed a look of reminiscence and said, Actually, I used to be called Handsome Guy. Later, I found this name a little superficial, so I changed it to Boss. Your parents didn't give you a name? Gu Qing asked curiously. I've never seen an existence called parent, the man said. Lola walked behind Gu Qing and tugged on his sleeve. She had never met her parents, and she didn't even have their names. She had suffered so many wounds along the way, and in the end, she had almost died. Seems like this person's life was quite tough. Gu Qing nodded, expressing that she understood Lola's meaning. Lola then took out a few healing treasures from her backpack and gave them to Ilya. Ilya then gave them to the man. Take them. These are all healing treasures. They should be able to help you, Lola told him. No. My body is different from normal people, the man refused, but the smile on his face became a bit warmer. These things are useless against my wounds. There's only one thing that can truly heal me. What is it? Gu Qing asked. A healing item made purely from soul points, the man replied. Everyone went silent, then turned their gazes to Yi Fei Li. Yi Fei Li opened her palm and activated her ability. Immediately, a bottle of drink appeared in his hand. Yi Fei Li tossed the drink to him. The man caught it and looked at it for a long time. Do I just eat this, but do I need to open it? There's a ring on it. I see it, then what? Pull it hard and crack. The man opened the can and finished it in one gulp. He closed his eyes to sense it. Just as I thought, it's working, the man smiled. Have you recovered? Gu Qing asked. So you were only guessing that it was working? A full recovery is impossible, but my wounds aren't worsening anymore. This is already very effective. As long as I keep drinking it from now on, I'll definitely get better, the man replied. His attitude became serious and slightly bowed. If that's the case, I hope to stay here until my wounds are fully healed, Lola nodded. Gu Qing also nodded. Seeing the two of them being so easy to talk to, Zhang Yongho hurriedly cut in. It's fine for you to stay, but I'm sure you know about the current situation of the 900 million world layers. We'll often have to face a lot of dangerous situations. I'm afraid we won't be able to take care of you. This person dared to call himself Boss. How interesting. He seems to be quite strong. Am I supposed to stay here and eat for free? That won't do. Take care of me? The man smiled inexplicably and repeated it in a low voice. You don't need to take care of me, and as payment for staying here, I could do a few things like what? Zhang Yongho asked. The man walked forward and slowly explained. In truth, I can also participate in combat. I'm quite strong, and I have a few abilities like taming beasts. The man put his hand on Magic Dragon's head. Magic Dragon desperately tried to smile and asked, Your boss? Hello, boss. Did they ask anything of you? The man asked. They did. They wanted to find out some secrets from me, Magic Dragon replied. Then what do you plan to do? Tell them a fake 1 inch? Now I want you to tell them the real answer. Can you do that? I can, Magic Dragon replied. Everyone looked at this in surprise. As long as it's a beast, I can tame it. That's my ability, the man explained. But this thing you tamed is a monster from the abyss, Zhang Yongho commented. No matter where it came from, as long as it's a beast, I can tame it, the man replied. Everyone went silent. The eternal abyss was flowing into the 900 million world layers. The monsters from the abyss were appearing more and more frequently. Under the current circumstances, this ability was extremely useful. Perhaps I can capture a particularly powerful monster and use it as a hired thug? A creature like the mystic dragon would be of great use to him. The man continued. There are some abilities that I can't tell you, but I can show you another ability. What is it? Zhang Yongho asked. Summon, the man replied. A dark red flame ignited in his hand as he drew a circle in the air. then quickly wrote fire runes on it. Devil's Flame and a unique summoning rune. Lola nodded in understanding. In terms of knowledge, no one here could compare to her. She had seen too many treasures, so she naturally understood the uniqueness of each world. Even Lin only knew about things from the age of old. But in the last few 10,000 years, she had been focused on her own matters and hadn't come into contact with anything new, so she couldn't compare to a little monster like Lola, who saw so many things every day. Lola silently sent her voice to Gu Shan and Lin. This guy might be a fiend from purgatory, I know, Gu Shan replied. No wonder he didn't want to say his name. All fiends and devils hide their true names in fear of being found. Are you sure it's a fiend's technique? Lin asked. Yes, the flame in his hand is the hellfire from the deepest part of purgatory. It's extremely powerful. Lin slowly calmed down. It can't be that entity. That entity is the most terrifying ruler of the abyss. Why would he lower himself to play with the flames of purgatory? Lin couldn't help but sigh in relief. Magic Dragon silently stood on one side with his head lowered, not letting anyone notice his expression. That flame, it was actually something the master casually stole from a great devil of purgatory while roasting something in the wilderness. So, Boss is hiding his identity in order to infiltrate this group? Catch, the man told Jang Young-ho. He lightly pushed the dark flame formation towards Jang Young-ho. Jang Young-ho caught it. The dark flame formation abruptly disappeared. Jang Young-ho silently sensed it, then nodded. This is a fiend's covenant, but what does it do? The man took out a book from thin air and flipped it open, only to see Jang Young-ho's face depicted on it. He put his hand on the book and muttered, "Summon Sha." Jang Young-ho instantly disappeared and reappeared in front of the man. You can summon me? Jang Young-ho was surprised. Ah, that's right. Humans like to summon fiends and devils. So I researched this technique to summon humans in reverse. Gu Shan asked, is there a time limit? It has to be within the same flow of time, but not limited by space, the man replied. Everyone went silent. That's quite an impressive ability. In a war, no matter how far away they are, it's always possible to gather everyone together. From a certain point of view, this ability can even play a decisive role in a war. And this man can even tame an abyssal monster. How is it can I stay? The man asked. Gu Shan cheerfully replied. You're welcome to join us, Lola spoke up first. But you're a fiend, and we're not familiar with you, so we can't trust you completely. We need a few safeguards, understood? The man nodded. Lola took out a ring and gave it to Ilya. Ilya also gave the ring to the man. This is one of the most powerful treasures I have, a mystic-type causality artifact called the Ring of Loyalty, Lola explained. Causality artifacts are very powerful. What kind of effects does it have? The man observed the ring in his hand and spoke with a solemn expression. Lola explained, it has the most powerful restraining ability. Wear it and swear to help Gu Shan. Gu Shan abruptly cut off Lola and said, you only need to swear that you won't harm us. The rest is up to you. The man's expression originally became serious, but as he heard Gu Shan's words, he regained his smile. So the conditions are that relaxed? He asked. I myself don't like to be restrained too much, Gu Shan replied. The man praised. That's about the same as me. He put the ring on his finger. Please remember this book's domain name. Mobile version. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.